You're listening to Wake Up with Christopher DeSimone on the Live the Dream Media Network, Southern Arizona's premier live talk and online radio.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Live the Dream Media Network. Christopher DeSimone. Malta Joe's on fire today. I think he had a couple of extra spicy pastizzi.
Ow!
Wow. This morning.
I don't see any on the table.
This is when it all goes south. So let's get on with the show.
Let's have Barney Brenner on the show. Good morning, Barney.
Good morning, all.
How are you doing?
Very well.
Look at you.
It's very easy coming here this morning. It's just a few-minute drive.
Yeah, we made it closer to your casa than ever with the big move.
And much closer to yours.
That's true. Much, much better. So good to see you and Sharon coming. You were at our St. Patrick's Day party Monday. That was a hoot.
This location was great. Food was great. Everything. Dozens of Wakies.
Yep. No, it was
Probably 50 people here.
No, I think it was a little more than that. We had about 70 is the
Wow.
number we had. So
Nice.
it was just fine. Just beautiful. We're going to have Stephen Wilson, a guy who's he's from the Pioneer Institute. He's going to be videoing with us talking about charter schools and kind of some really good knowledge, I think, that he's going to drop on us. This is the time. I told Barney the timing of this is just absolutely fantastic. Barney Brenner is he has done extensive research.
I don't know extensive, but
Let me rephrase that. Unbelievably extensive research on the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And at the same time, we just had this big data dump that came out yesterday from the Trump administration.
80,000 documents or something.
Something like that. And then the best part is Barney didn't look at any of it, which is actually good because I have a list of stuff that's been coming out of it, and I want to see how it compares with his extensive research. So you've heard the Warren report, right? We have the Brenner report is here, the living, walking, talking Brenner report. You know, the Warren report was just Warren report, Barney. The bullcrap, too foggy, covering. What do you think?
Well, we'll have to see what the data
Senator
says.
Warren's dead. You can talk bad about it. So
Yeah, well, the official report, one shooter. There were questions, but a lot of the conspiracy stuff there's always conspiracy stuff with any event that comes out. Looking at the one thing we have that is amazing that we've got it enabled us to really have a good look at the event was the Zapruder film. And looking at it frame by frame, it shows, unless, you can say there's a conspiracy that it was doctored, but if you assume that it's the way it was recorded, the kill shot came from behind. And although it's funny, if you look at it real quickly,
yes,
if you just watch the sequence at normal speed, it appears that Kennedy goes back, but he goes back a frame after he's hit, and it's a physiological reaction.
All right. See, this is what I'm talking about. The Brenner report. I already got it winding up and ready to go. This is beautiful.
Oh, I may be able to get that image on screen if you like.
Look at this. The magic of video.
Yeah,
I love it.
The versatility of what you can do here.
So it's beautiful. It's a great, big, beautiful thing, Barney Brenner. Great, big, beautiful thing.
Yes, Mr. President.
So now let's do a quick rundown of stuff. I love how we have to have when Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, comes on and the NBC lady goes, "Now, can you guarantee there's not going to be a recession?" Right?
Hold on, let me dust off the crystal ball.
I want to talk about a little bit of this deportation of the Tren de Aragua guys before this is over. And then at the same time, CBS News embarrasses themselves, opening up their evening news, saying that the deportation of the Tren de Aragua, basically terrorist gang, is similar to the deportations of the Irish in the early 20th century. Love it. Pima County is whining about there's no more money for their migrant shelters, the milk. We have that happened at their meeting. They're also worried about low vaccination rates in Pima County. Paul Cunningham is a giant wussy. I just want to let you know that. And he screwed over every small business owner yesterday and Richard Fimbres. So they had their votes at the Tucson City Council to do certain things about homeless in washes and medians to try to stave off any Prop 312 claims. And
there ought to be a flurry of them.
So they did one that they approved, but one they didn't approve. And Paul Cunningham stabbed every small business owner that has any sort of physical location in Tucson in the face last night. In the face. He is the biggest mouth-breathing wuss bag I have ever seen. he even Rahina voted for it, and he voted against it. That's how much of a wuss bag Paul Cunningham is. So we'll talk about that.
If they'd only do their job.
just the basis, baby.
It's not much to ask.
Let's see. Our JFK work. Members of the City Council of Fort Myers, Florida, cry and hold hands during a meeting about cooperating with immigration with dealing with illegal alien criminals in their community. Tim Walz sends a message to Trump supporters. I think I can kick their asses. Tim Walz? Tim Walz?
This guy's in a fantasy world.
I think Tulsi Gabbard could take him out in about 33 seconds. Just gonna let everyone know.
Physically or electorally?
Both. You are correct. So yesterday, I mentioned earlier, maybe about 10 days ago, me and Mrs. D had to travel into the interior of Tucson. Okay, kind of in the North Kazakhstan area, taking the Swan Corridor down into the middle of Tucson. And what was amazing to us, and by amazing I meant horrifying, is two gentlemen, different medians, no pants. Now I want to really clarify for you guys and girls. I'm not talking about their pants or around their legs. No pants. Also, no underpants. So I just want to let everyone know, two different medians, two guys, no pants, no underpants. Okay? This is where we're at in the city of Tucson. But wait, there's more. A friend of mine says, hey, I'd love to take you, let's meet for lunch, we're talking some business stuff. When was the last time you went to Guillermo's Double L on the south side? Decades. Gotta be at least a couple of decades. I have nothing against the place per se, it's just crap happens and I find places like Medinetto and I don't have to go to Guillermo's. But we went. And I get down to right by Santa Cruz Catholic Church there. And there's a gentleman in kind of crouching like a baseball catcher, about to receive the pitch. Right now, nothing was coming out of him, thank God. All right, in relation to excrement or other things, but also another gentleman with no pants, no underpants, but he had shoes. Okay?
Your use of the word gentleman is questionable.
Maybe he's a noble soul tortured by drugs, right? But this gentleman, again, so right now, 10 days, 3 different people in the city of Tucson with no pants, no underpants, just walking around the streets. Welcome to tourist season in Tucson, Arizona.
That's true.
And then some of you will say, well, Chris, how was Guillermo's Double L for lunch?
You lost your appetite.
Well, I think they're across the street from where Minanito was. It sounds like they bought Minanito. And, I guess they're smart. Just don't open Minanito. They'll just all come to Guillermo's Double L. They had a good crowd. Salsa was excellent. And the food was fine. But you can tell it's a Mexican restaurant built for old white people. You can tell it. And so my friend, who's a little older herself, she's like, well, how do you like it? I go, what's great? It's straight head American old white people Mexican food. Just the basics, right? We got a chimichanga, we got a cheese enchilada. Fine. And she's like, well, what do you mean? And I go, all right, crane your neck around. Who's in this place? And you could tell it was 97% old white people. They came down from Sam Hughes' place. And, they think this is the closest they're going to get to, they feel like they're going down to Hermosillo or something, like going down to South Tucson. And so, nice job. But I wouldn't go back a lot. It's fine.
You don't have to.
It's fine. So anyway, salsa was excellent, though. Good salsa. I appreciate their salsa. The other thing and food thing I want to announce real quick is, so the Mama's Pizza went out in Oro Valley, the one on Oracle and McGee. It's been there a long time. And they weren't doing too good on their Yelpers. They were like a 2.8 out of 5, which is no bueno, usually. But I wanted to explain to people, because when I posted it, and he'd been on the show with Rocco before, Joey Espina, the son of one of the Espina brothers, was explaining that when the dads retired, one passed away. I forgot how this whole thing worked. The different Mama's Pizzas went to different kids. And so the one relative owned that one and the other one that went out of business. And the one in Oro Valley wasn't just we were going out of business. They got locked out for not paying rent, looked like. Okay. Which is amazing, because that thing had been there forever. That location. So anyway, there's still the one on Speedway and the one on Houghton that's run by Joey and his sister, and they're doing the good work that people remember from years ago. So don't get, even though they all say Mama's Pizza, it's just the way a family business kind of broke down. And so it sounds like my brother was just at the one on Speedway last month. Sounds like they're doing fine. So anyway, Joey's going to come on the show soon. We'll eat pizza and talk about it. So let's do this. When we come back, I want to talk about how Paul Cunningham is a giant wussbag. Thank God it's an all yes Wednesday. Who came up with this playlist?
Your favorite band.
We're going to push. John Anderson's coming to the Rialto on April 1st. Arizona Gives Day, live breakfast remote. Me and John Anderson in the same town on the same day, on Wake Up Anniversary Day. It's all happening. So you're on the Live the Dream Media Network.
You're listening to Wake Up with Chris DeSimone on Live the Dream Media Network. Now a word from our sponsors.
Hola, I'm Fatima Campos, owner of Incas. With just one taste, you will understand why Peruvian cuisine is one of the best in the world. The blending of spices, international flavors, ingredients imported from Peru, fresh dishes, unique, authentic, and delicious. Incas Peruvian Cuisine, southwest corner of Sunrise and Cole. Visit us at incasperuviancuisine.com. Adios margaritas. Hola pisco sour.
TRAC stands for Therapeutic Ranch for Animals and Kids. It's a favorite service organization for the Wakies to support. TRAC, located at Dodge and River, is a one-of-a-kind ranch that offers children of various needs an opportunity to serve through interaction with animals. It's a win-win for children and all of our beloved animals. TRAC is eligible for your Arizona tax credit donations now through April 15th. To find out how to get a dollar-for-dollar credit off your Arizona tax bill and help kids and animals, head over to TRACTucson.org and go to the Support TRAC page to find out more. Make sure you tell TRAC my boy Smooch the Mini Donkey sent you.
My heat and air were in a state of disrepair.
It's still free furnace season. For a limited time until the last day of winter, you can get a free furnace with the purchase and installation of a qualifying HVAC system. Now is the time to start planning for the long, hot Tucson summer. Hurry, this deal won't last long. For fast, reliable, and honest service, call Picturox Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing at 520-492-0748 or picturoxcooling.com.
Picturox Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing.
GAP has been a valuable community partner for us for many years. We have a lot of families in need and try to meet their needs as the best that we can, but partners like GAP Ministries helps us do that. GAP steps in and fills needs that our school district can't necessarily provide on our own.
Breaking cycles of poverty and abuse with your foster care tax credit. Go to gaptaxcredit.com.
Investing in regional transportation improvements over 20 years is an investment in ourselves. Your self-investment in transportation will help attract billions of additional dollars in public and private sector investment that boost our economic vitality and job creation, all resulting in a positive return on your investment. That old adage, you have to spend money to make money, applies here. It's an investment worth considering. Learn more at rtanext.com.
In 2014, Mark Kadow wanted to bring people together with classic board and strategy games promoting social experiences that build real connections. He succeeded 4 times over with Tucson Games and Gadgets, with locations at Tucson Mall, Park Place Mall, Marana Premium Outlets, and Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. Tucson Games and Gadgets is a Tucson-born and locally operated business supporting the community with a place where everyone feels welcome. Whether you're a lifetime gamer or just looking for a new hobby, we've got something for you. The Tucson Mall location has the Short Rest Tavern, an in-store beer and wine tavern that offers a warm, comfortable atmosphere where adults can enjoy a craft drink and good company while playing their favorite games. We feature hundreds of free games to play that are just waiting on the shelf. Check out TucsonGamesandGadgets.com for special events, leagues, and store hours. Tucson Games and Gadgets, where we take playing seriously.
Welcome back to Wake Up with Chris DeSimone on Live the Dream Media Network. Now back to our show.
There we go. Let's let it cook a little bit. Wow, I held a note. There we go. So off the first or second Yes album, they literally said that they ripped off the. They were watching Bonanza at the time, and they ripped off the orchestral riff of the Bonanza theme song. So we'll get everyone through the week. Yes will help us get there, as we like to say. Plus Barney Brenner. Hello, Barney.
Good morning. Good morning, Wakies. Good morning, Chris.
Barney, you look good. I mean, look at that. You were talking about the lights in your eyes a little bit. You know, we got to light you up a little bit, bud.
Yeah. Tell you what, hope we don't blind the Wakies with the hair reflection.
Beautiful. It's freaking beautiful. You're fine. Just want to let everyone know we got a big 11 days coming up in the Wakey universe. So again, fundraiser for the great Jesse Lugo running for city council. That's coming up on March 31st at St. Philip's Plaza. Next morning, the John Anderson concert day and Wakey anniversary. It's also the it's the Arizona Gives Day with Gap Ministries. So, Barney, I know you've been to a bunch of these before. It's such a good time. All the Wakies are breaking bread, eating great John Hone food. We're raising money for Gap Ministries, and this year on video.
That'd be nice.
So you can watch me eat a breakfast burrito on the air like a monkey.
The Wakies have helped Gap win the bonus round.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
By giving donations.
Yeah, qualifying $100 donations in that 7 to 8 a.m. hour. So we're going to do it again for Gap Ministries. So wakeup.gapmin.com to get your tickets. The Lugo function, we want you to show up, but you don't have to RSVP. Just bring your, if you live in the city of Tucson, we want to make sure you bring your qualifying matching funds donation of $10 or more.
And with 2 weeks to go, to still qualify for tax credit, not a deduction, but
Correct.
Arizona state tax credit.
We got a month ago, really, or a little less than a month ago.
Well, from
that day. Oh, that's right.
April 1st.
Correct. And then just put on your calendar, April 10th is our happy hour at Inca's Peruvian on Colvin Sunrise. So it'll be beautiful on that patio on an April 10th evening. So please join us.
Prettiest time of year in Tucson.
Absolutely. So we got that going for us. So I want to tell you about this meeting at the city council. Now, I know the good people. It was so great that he came to our St. Patrick's Day party. The gentleman who runs 857 Tucson, he's on our live chat right now. He's been carving up some of the call to the audiences at the meeting last night at the city of Tucson. And one of them was a lady talking about how her husband had to pull a gun on a guy. They're basically, she's just under attack at her house, right? Between all the defecating, the druggies, all of that stuff. And so this Prop 312, which is something the Tucson Crime Free Coalition with our friends over at Goldwater Institute pushed through the legislature to get it on the ballot. And it was one of the few things of the 29,000 propositions that were on the ballot that got approval. And not by a little bit. It was a decent little chunk of approval, which was the idea that taxpayers, due to the lack of governance of their local municipality, that would lead to the homeless drug crackheads ruining your life, incurring more costs to live your life, you get to take those costs off of your property taxes. And you do a claim through the Arizona Department of Revenue, which would then work it that way. So municipalities that don't take care of their stuff, like the city of Tucson, had to start changing some of their ordinances to reflect that they look like they were doing something.
Just look like.
So it's the idea that I'm sure Mike Rankin, the city manager, had told them that if you don't change this, you're continuing to open our flank up to 312 claims. That's why they even did this in the first place. They didn't do this because they think it's the right thing to do to protect their business owners. It was even on there because Mike Rankin told them that we do not want to have a flurry of 312s. Right? Now, in relation to the amount of money it is, I'm sure, the way these morons budget their money or mismanage the budget, whatever the 312 claim is going to cost them some, sweet deal for some NGO to pretend to do something to fix something in this town.
It's worse for PR than I think it's going to be financially.
Right. And if the Crime Free Coalition that has, I know they say they have 8,000 on their mailing list, but there's definitely hundreds of real business owners that are part of their network over at the Crime Free Coalition. Start doing, if they got, I don't know, half of them, and there was 400 312 claims just coming from their group, that's a nightmare for the city, which they deserve. So, on the table last night, they also cleared out Pio Nuevo yesterday because they say they're going to start developing Pio Nuevo there on Alvernon and Golf Links. We'll see. So the changes were, the first was to prohibit people from occupying traffic medians on streets where see, they can't even do this right. The speed limits have to be 30 miles per hour or higher for them not to be on a median. Barney, am I being too nitpicky? Does that sound...
Well, that'll cover most of the all of the arterials.
Right. So I guess anything else that has a less than that would be a local street, and if it has a median, it's okay if someone's hanging out on the median.
Yeah, interesting.
Right.
The ones with the medians, I would think, are all over that speed limit.
So here's the best part. So the original code that was adopted in 2000 is prohibited people from occupying medians, but it had to do with their actions / intentions on the median, right? So, quote, solicit employment. I wish they were soliciting employment. I know half of it was fake because they said, I will work for food, I guess, and they wanted you to throw them a 20. Contributions, donations, or sales of any kind from the occupant of a vehicle, the memo said. It was adopted to regulate the sale of newspapers from the medians, but subsequent federal court rulings made the codes unenforceable. All right. Now, the second proposal prohibits camping in washes and water courses. I like the word water course. I don't hear that enough days, Barney Brenner. Quote, defined in documents as, quote, setting up or remaining in or at a campsite, a place where bedding, sleeping bags, tents, shade structures, boxes, or other material is used for bedding purposes.
Yeah, it should be noted that the city of Tucson actually has facilitated these kind of campsites by supplying some of the garbage they need. They've actually given out tents.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I mean, well, think about the when the homeless anarchists of Stop Cop City, right? That literally
provided the tents, the porta potties,
possibly the cooking equipment. That was the one that they blew up the building downtown, where they almost killed a guy who was cleaning the building inside, right, with an explosive device. These are the ones that had on their itinerary for the weekend had an orgy as part of it, and the city of Tucson was not only supporting it, but literally just sat there and let them do their thing,
catering it.
Yep. So, so it was interesting that
with the Stop Cop City, here's a situation where they imported an agitator group from, I think it was Atlanta.
It was.
And they brought them into Tucson to, foment the same kind of unrest and craziness. I think it was on Stone near Grant. Was it Stone or Oracle? I think it was Stone.
It was Stone. Yeah, it was Stone. It was Stone.
And
it was over by the old Bum Steer in that area.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe, but the city, which is supposed to preserve law and order, was actually providing, you can't make this stuff up, providing the shelter, the bathrooms, and turning a blind eye. No enforcement.
Well, and then one of the organizations that was sponsoring was that BICAS, BICAS, I believe, that's where Lane Santa Cruz worked before she became a councilwoman. You're seeing how this goes. So what happened was last night they had a yes, and we will get to the retirement of the fire chief also before it's over. So this is from KVOA. This is from Connor McGill. So what happened was the traffic median, one that we just discussed, Barney, that one passed 5-1. Again, remember, they're doing this because Mike Rankin said if we don't do this, we are opening ourselves up huge for Prop 312 claims. So 5-1. Barney, who was the only council person to vote against that?
Did you say Paul Cunningham?
No, that's coming up later.
Oh, okay.
Santa Cruz.
Lane Santa Cruz, okay.
Okay. Now, camping and washes and water courses. Now, the sad part is, I know Fimbres is sick, but I heard him earlier in the meeting when I watched the beginning, but then they said he was absent from the vote. Now, I don't know if he was absent because he was physically ill or he was just being another, Richard's a nice fella, but he's never done a brave thing in his life, politically. Never. Okay? Now, so this failed because of no Fimbres. It actually went to a tie, which of course means it doesn't pass. So we had the people who voted to prohibit camping in washes and water courses were Nikki Lee, Mayor Romero, and Karen Ulick. The people voting against it was Rahina's pool boy, Kevin Dahl, in an act of defiance, Lane Santa Cruz, which didn't surprise me, and mouth-breathing giant wuss bag, Paul Cunningham.
Now you have to wonder, since most of these votes are choreographed. It's not, when you see debate or discussion from any of these bodies prior to going to a vote, it's not that their vote's going to be influenced. The way the the outcome of the vote is predetermined. So you wonder if the Romero and Ulick votes were just for show, because they knew ahead of time it wasn't going to pass, so they can make a show of.
It could be, but so there's a shine. Mr. Golden silver lining here.
Yeah, and I'm being Mr. Cynical, but it's hard not to be with this group.
So here's my silver. Oh, the other one. The other one that came up was camping in city parks, which is also a problem. They decided they weren't going to consider that last night. Okay.
Yeah, take that, families who want to use the parks.
You and your stupid kids want to run around and throw a frisbee around without having a crackhead attack them. So what's interesting about here's my silver linings. It's like, I want to have like a little sound. Time for Chris's silver linings. One, it just confirms that Paul Cunningham possibly is the worst stupid elected official I think I've ever seen. Just Paul, you reinforced it. All of your big talk that you're a business friendly guy and I know you want to be mayor. I keep hearing that from people when the impending doom of Raul Grijalva was happening, and you were thinking that maybe Romero was going to run for the seat, right? I heard it from multiple people. Paul thinks he's going to be the next mayor. They're not going to let a buffoon like Paul Cunningham be the next mayor. And when I mean they, I mean the Grijalva machine. They are not letting the big white buffoon be the mayor of Tucson, unless it fit that they needed a useful idiot to be in that seat. But Lane Santa Cruz is way in front of you right now, bro. So keep being a fool. So Paul reinforced his wussiness. And Paul, I just want to let you know, you stabbed every small business in your ward and in the entire city in the back. Oh, actually in the face. That's what you did. You just suck. It's unbelievable. And then we knew that. And the other part of this is by not doing the parks thing, Barney, and also for Kevin Dahl, Santa Cruz, and Big Wussbag to shoot it down, the one about the washes. I don't know what Josh and Kevin and Monica are doing. I would have a Prop 312 party. I would let's go to Grant's place. Let's have a whole open evening with music, and all we do is have people helping people do 312 claims. Josh, Kevin Daly, Monica, let's have a 312 claim party. Let's do it. Let's get Neon Prophet to do some reggae music, get him out of the boondocks finally. Let's rock it. Barney's a smart guy. He can help you do your 312 claim. He's a former business guy. He knows how to do these. Barney, would you help people do their 312 claims?
I'd be glad to do whatever I could.
Right out of the mouths of Barney.
Not that they need my help, but
you never know. You never do. Let's see what the old live chat on our YouTube page has today. Let's see. Still waiting on the Epstein list from Hilux Radio. Us too. Barney, what's holding up the Epstein list? What is that list too hot?
It may be too many influential people on that list. We know, the thing is you wonder what's on that list that'll be a surprise, because we know a good number of people that participated. I mean, it turns out that Bill Gates is more of a sleaze than anybody knew.
Right. Let's see, Bill Beard talking about the people walking around with no pants that I've seen walking around the city of Tucson. Of course, Hilux says, "Stay up in my hood." I'm trying Hilux. That sounds like brush fire. Hilux sounds like brush fire. Bill Beard, mayor and council refer to those as performance artists that just need to be better understood. Well, I mean, these are the same people who think they can teach literacy by going to Bookman's and having a fat guy in a dress read to your child. Let's Let's see. Hilux, 857 Tucson. Good morning to everyone in the chat. Wishing you all hit that like. Yeah, absolutely. Hit like and subscribe if you're on our YouTube pages. That would be great. Or if you're watching on any of our other social media feeds. Let's see. What else do we got here today? Beard, MNC, Bill's they're all about appearance, yes. Tax slaves, not taxpayers, and they get your money back. Ain't happening. That's true. Rio Nuevo cleared out because of the air show. They will all be back. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's like when they brought Joe Biden into town. Temporary facelift.
Bill, is it too possible to be too cynical about the mayor and council? Absolutely not. The proof's in the pudding, right?
Yeah, anytime you think they've sunk as low as they can.
Correct.
They dash expectations.
All right, Barney Brenner, Chris DeSimone. We're going to go to break, visit some great sponsors here on the Live the Dream Media Network. Thank God it's an all yes Wednesday. Friday is CJ and Mark Van Buren for me for the last 2 hours. That'll be hilarious. The 28th is Visit Tucson's Best Mexican Food City Food Friday. We're going to have 6 Food Friday guests in one day. Stretchy pants. Just telling you. You're on Wake Up.
You're listening to Wake Up with Chris DeSimone on Live the Dream Media Network. Now a word from our sponsors.
For over 30 years, Raina and the family at Shish Kebab House have been serving Tucson's best Mediterranean cuisine. Located on Broadway across from Park Place, Shish Kebab House features a scratch kitchen mixing Jordanian favorites with all the best from the region. Want to try Tucson's best hummus and multabal? Go to Shish Kebab House. Other favorites are shawarma, stuffed grape leaves, crispy falafel, and of course, the best kebabs in town. Your choice, dine in or order takeout. Preview Shish Kebab's menu at shishkebabhousetucson.com.
Welcome to Tucson Strength, or as we like to say, welcome home. We are Tucson's locally owned gym that was built out of a passion for strength. Our goal isn't to slam our gym full of people for the lowest price possible. We are here for those that want a focused training environment with the best equipment around, and a supportive community that is tired of the big box gym scene.
Discover the power of 88 Crime, where your anonymous tips are rewarded with cash. When you call in anonymously with the tip, you are given a code. With the code and a password, you can walk into a bank and redeem your reward anonymously. If your anonymous tip results in a felony arrest, you can claim up to $2,500 cash reward. Let's stop the silence on crime and strive for a safer community. For more information, please visit 88crime.org or call 88crime.
Gap has been a valuable community partner for us for many years. We have a lot of families in need and try to meet their needs as the best that we can, but partners like Gap Ministries helps us do that. Gap steps in and fills needs that our school district can't necessarily provide on our own.
Breaking cycles of poverty and abuse with your foster care tax credit. Go to gaptaxcredit.com.
Your favorite radio just got bigger, bolder, and better connected. Live the Dream Media is revolutionizing how you stay tuned in. With our explosive growth in online radio and our brand new mobile app, your entertainment goes wherever you do. Stream your favorite shows, discover new hits, and connect with audiences across the digital landscape, all at your fingertips. Advertisers don't miss out. Join our expanding digital network and reach engaged listeners across platforms. Download the Live the Dream Media app today and experience radio reimagined.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, CopperCreekCookies.net. We can print anything on our soft vanilla logo cookies. We deliver them and other sweet treats locally. We are located at 4249 West Ina Road, Suite 121. Call us 520-300-1131. We bake smiles. Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, CopperCreekCookies.net.
When exploring America's best city for Mexican food, start off at one of the best, El Taco Rustico. Chef Juan Almanza is crafting some of the best dishes in Tucson at 2 locations, Grant and Oracle and the new Rustico Dos at Park and Silver Lake. Everything on the menu is a standout, from the shrimp rojitos, costilla beef ribs, to Arizona's best birria. Head over to Rustico Dos for Juan's amazing smoked brisket, pulled pork and ribs, plus all your Mexican favorites. For more, check out tacorustico.com.
My heat and air were in a state of disrepair.
It's still free furnace season. For a limited time until the last day of winter, you can get a free furnace with the purchase and installation of a qualifying HVAC system. Now is the time to start planning for the long, hot Tucson summer. Hurry, this deal won't last long. For fast, reliable, and honest service, call Picturox Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing at 520-492-0748 or picturoxcooling.com.
Picturox Cooling, Heating and Plumbing.
Welcome back to Wake Up with Christy Simone on Live the Dream Media Network. Now back to our show.
All right, there we go. Beautiful. I came in on the quiet part. All right, that's my boys from Yes covering, doing the superior cover of America by Simon and Garfunkel. Of course, Yes turns it into an 8-minute song, so that's what we do. You're on the Wake Up Tucson show. It's a Yes Wednesday. Christy Simone, Barney Brenner. We're getting closer to getting to the big JFK debate. I'd say it's after we talk to Steve Wilson from the Pioneer Institute at 7 o'clock. We're going to get so deep into this. We're going to have Jim Garrison's going to be calling in, and Oliver Stone, and we're going to make it. We're going to go deep with Barney on the JFK assassination. If you missed the last segment, you missed Christy Simone calling Paul Cunningham a giant spineless wuss bag. I just want to make sure I don't mince words.
Multiple times.
Let me do this. Let's do Google on the air. Definition. Hold on. Definition of wuss bag. Let's see. What do we got here? Wuss bag is a slang term. A variant of wuss from the Old English, meaning a weak, cowardly, or ineffectual person. I think I nailed it. The word is wuss bag. Also, we found out that Chuck Ryan, the fire chief of the city of Tucson, abruptly resigned yesterday. So everyone's getting out. Everyone's getting out. I don't know. I'm trying to understand. So you guys can help me out. Was the fire chief pro 414 and the members hated him for it? Or was he non-414 and was pissed off how the union and everyone went for it? So I don't know. But I'd love to know why. And one of the headlines actually described, I don't know if it was the KVOA, I think. Yeah. Tucson Fire Chief Chuck Ryan abruptly announces retirement. So, good Wakey people, let me know. Why did Chuck Ryan all of a sudden blow out? So,
I wonder if he's had interviews elsewhere and got a new job lined up.
I mean, you can get away from Regina Romero and get a pay raise.
And live in a city where you don't have the illustrious medians
Thank you.
that we have in Tucson. It's hard to overstate just how dysfunctional this city is. It's just so, it really is sad for people who've lived here or grown up here.
It's beyond either of our imaginations, right?
The word is unimaginable.
So Barney has lived here a long time.
Over half a century.
Right. Business owner in the Flowing Wells neighborhood. And then you expanded to how many locations in the city?
3.
3 different locations. Barney's Auto Import Auto Parts. And then you sold it. And, you still live right on the edge of Tucson on the west side. And you have been very politically involved. You've done it all from running for office, pounding in signs, working with candidates. You've been there for the last 25 years at least doing that.
Yeah, more than that. You do what you can, but, at some point you feel like throwing your hands up.
But let's just go back 10 years ago.
You have to go back farther.
But let's just go back 10 years ago. I don't want to go back too far. 10 years ago. If we were sitting there, in days and Higgins is still around and we're doing our thing, right? Could we imagine that this town would be this bad 10 years later? I mean, this
true.
bad.
No, it wasn't great then. It had deteriorated over the prior few years, at least. But to imagine the state of the city now, 10 years ago, you couldn't make it up. Someone would say, "Oh, you're crazy." There's people on the median exposing themselves, and the cops are doing nothing about it. Impossible.
So the day after Raul died, I did about 45 minutes about how he was the most destructive elected leader in the history of Pima County.
Yeah, well, from the TUSD school board,
right,
wrecked a school district, I think second largest in the state. It went from an enrollment of 60-something thousand. It's half of that now.
Correct.
Because parents are voting with their feet. They're fleeing. So he goes from there to the County Board of Supervisors and wrecking not just a school district, but an entire county. And then it was almost a blessing for him to be elected to Congress just to get him out of our hair. But still, the board still had a leftist majority.
I mean, Richard Elias was Raul Jr.
Yeah.
Spiritually. So I think with all of this, right, so in relation to what we've learned is, I thought about it, right? So when you watch all the accolades coming in from Democrats about Raul Grijalva.
It's not kind to speak ill of the dead.
Well, again,
basically
there's the human being, and he can figure it out with the Lord on what's going on with himself. I'm just talking about the politician, right? The politician and the decisions of the way he's voted, the way he's and he shoots his mouth off, right? And they always lead with the environmental side. He was the champion of the environment, right?
Yeah, just look at the washes around Tucson, how pristine they are.
It always hit me when doing the border tour that we've done in the past. We've taken some hard lefties on the tour who are usually open border people, right? And then they see the
literally tons of trash of all kinds,
and they kind of go. You can see the gears in their head just moving around. I guess we're to a point in time that if we can't change the place politically, right? It's a 4-1 vote on the Pima County Board, and I got 7 fools on the City Council right now. Now I hope I can get. I mean, you got to start somewhere. Getting a Jesse Lugo on there would be a voice of reason, right? Maybe Sadie Shaw, if she could beat. If there's someone who could beat Kevin Dahl in a primary in Ward 3, it could be Sadie Shaw. Okay? I'm not saying she's great in relation to politics, but she doesn't seem to be a thrall of the machine. So maybe there's some hope there. And my libertarians seem to say that at TUSD, you can tell that she has pulled away from the other part. I mean, there's the Grijalva extra machine, and Danny's brat is the chair of the TUSD school board. I mean, I exchanged one brat for the other, basically, with Ravi Shaw in the middle. So what I was going to say is, there's the Polonius from Hamlet line. I feel I'm so comfy today. I'm just like talking with Barney here. To thine own self be true. The problem with Tucson is they're not willing to just admit who they are and go with it. Let's stop playing the games. So, and Barney, if you look at all the bad decisions that these morons have got us to right now in 2025, what are we? this region, what are we? How would you describe ourselves? Are we a basically the city of Tucson is a leftist community of retirees? Is that where we're at? Because that's what it feels like we're turning into.
Well, the Sam Hughes neighborhood, maybe, but I can't see retirees having a choice of where you're going to live.
Right.
Who's going to want to live in a hellhole? You know, even going down to Green Valley or some of the surrounding communities, Sahuarita, Oro Valley, Marana. So I can see retirees live there.
We're a government town.
Absolutely.
Right. We're number one government town. Economically and otherwise, government town. Then we have a university, right?
More government.
More government, right? But then when I say the retirees, I know that a good portion of these escapees from California came to Tucson because we were the blue dot in the red state.
Well, if you're a refugee from California, maybe Tucson doesn't seem so bad.
Right. So maybe it's a lighter form of socialism that maybe, but you'll keep voting for the jerks, and it'll just be we're getting there. We're getting to be California
or
without
maybe
an
the
ocean.
same kind of socialism, but you're not taxed as badly. Although they were trying.
Well, yeah. Why don't they let's come out and be true. All right. Let's stop doing economic development.
Government can't do economic development.
Right, let's just stop. Let's forget about the chamber door, $650,000 for the chamber door people. Let's just forget about it. We don't do it. It's not our thing. We don't want to do it. Why are we doing? We're like the ultimate tease, right? We say we want people to come here. We want them to expand their business. All of those things, and then we just ruin it anyway on the back end. Why waste the money in the front? Just put it towards like a May Day socialism festival. Let's just go for it. Right? I want Kevin Dahl in a nice little dress dancing around the maypole. Let's do it. Let's do a drag maypole with the city council. That's what I would do.
You're painting some awful images today.
I know. I'm sorry. But that's where we're at. Let's stop pretending. This American battery factory debacle, that's another thing. They said it was going to go up quick because it was a modular building. And everyone needs their electric batteries. We got to get them out. Got to get them fast. And now they're talking about how we may never see a job until 2027. Maybe. Talking to a couple of people in the SALC level of the planet, they're telling me that, they had the initial groundbreaking. No one's seen anything since of the American battery factory guys. So, they could turn in the Worldview Junior is what it sounds like to me. So, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Well, I can hear Stephen Wilson making coffee in the back or, making a birdhouse. So we're going to go to break. And we come back, Stephen Wilson from the Pioneer Institute's coming up next. We're going to have a deep dive on charter schools, school choice, all that good stuff. And then Barney and I
keep teasing it.
We're going to do the deepest dive into Barney is going to reveal who actually shot everybody. Everybody. We got Kennedy, MLK,
Bobby,
Mahatma Gandhi. He's going deep on Gandhi, too, after this. It's going to be awesome. Ron and Nicole. It's all happening on the Wake Up Show on the Live the Dream Media Network. We're jamming Yes all Wednesday just to get you through to the weekend. You're on the Live the Dream Media Network.
You're listening to Wake Up with DeSimone on Live the Dream Media Network. Now a word from our sponsors.
Looking for the best outdoor patio in Tucson? Look no further than St. Philip's Plaza at the southeast corner of River and Campbell, where you can sip on Tucson's finest collection of whiskey at Union Pub days a week at Reforma Modern Mexican Mezcal and Tequila, and experience our newest restaurant, Proof, proudly serving house-made pasta and artisanal pizza. Enjoy live music and dine under the stars with Union, Reforma, and Proof. Join us at St. Philip's Plaza.
Hi, this is Sean McCluskey, co-owner and designated broker for Rincon Ventures. If you're a rental owner by choice or by accident and you're looking to hire or change property management companies, consider Rincon Ventures. We employ an aggressive web-based advertising strategy to market your rental. We thoroughly screen prospective tenants and conduct routine property inspections. Our online system gives tenants the ability to pay rent and file maintenance requests instantly over the web. Our owners can use the same system to instantly check on their properties. Call Rincon Ventures at 881-2258 or visit us on the web at rvprop.com.
80% of those that have been incarcerated have been in foster care. So that's crazy to think that 8 out of every 10 inmates, male or female, have touched the foster care system. So if we can break the cycles that cause the foster care system to even be in existence, we're going to change society.
At GAP, I found love.
I found family.
It means hope. It was almost like I had a family away from my own family. At GAP, I found home.
For over 30 years, Raina and the family at Shish Kebab House have been serving Tucson's best Mediterranean cuisine. Located on Broadway across from Park Place, Shish Kebab House features a scratch kitchen mixing Jordanian favorites with all the best from the region. Want to try Tucson's best hummus and multabal? Go to Shish Kebab House. Other favorites are shawarma, stuffed grape leaves, crispy falafel, and of course the best kebabs in town. Your choice, dine in or order takeout. Preview Shish Kebab's menu at shishkebabhousetucson.com.
Welcome to Tucson Strength, or as we like to say, welcome home. We are Tucson's locally owned gym that was built out of a passion for strength. Our goal isn't to slam our gym full of people for the lowest price possible. We are here for those that want a focused training environment with the best equipment around, and a supportive community that is tired of the big box gym scene.
Discover the power of 88 Crime, where your anonymous tips are rewarded with cash. When you call in anonymously with the tip, you are given a code. With the code and a password, you can walk into a bank and redeem your reward anonymously. If your anonymous tip results in a felony arrest, you can claim up to $2,500 cash reward. Let's stop the silence on crime and strive for a safer community. For more information, please visit 88crime.org or call 88crime.
GAP has been a valuable community partner for us for many years. We have a lot of families in need and try to meet their needs as the best that we can, but partners like GAP Ministries helps us do that. GAP steps in and fills needs that our school district can't necessarily provide on our own.
Breaking cycles of poverty and abuse with your foster care tax credit, go to gaptaxcredit.com.
Welcome back to Wake Up with DeSimone on Live the Dream Media Network. Now back to our show.
So, hey, you're on the Wake Up show with DeSimone on the Live the Dream Media Network. It's an all yes Wednesday. John Anderson actually will be on the show very soon. We're working on that interview. When I was talking to my boy Scott, who's one of my booking buddies, about our next guest, he said Stephen Wilson, and I said, Barney Brenner, good morning, sir. Welcome back.
Good morning, Chris.
I thought it was...
Good morning, Wakies.
Absolutely. I thought it was Stephen Wilson from the group Porcupine Tree, but it turned out to be Stephen Wilson from the Pioneer Institute, and let's bring him on right now. You're not the guy from Porcupine Tree, is what I'm...
No, sadly, I know you're disappointed.
Stephen, welcome to the show, my friend.
Great to be with you. How are you?
We're doing fine. Tell me what a Pioneer Institute does. A
Pioneer Institute does public policy research, and my focus is on education and specifically on urban education and charters.
Look at you. And talk about the Stephen Wilson road to getting to such a place in your life. Why?
Well,
tell us about.
I started in tech, and then I worked for Governor Weld in Massachusetts and helped to develop the 1993 Education Reform Act, which was, it was an extraordinary experience because it was one of the few cases where we were really successful. So Massachusetts now has been the top of the 50 states for a long while, although that's in jeopardy. And that was the beginning of my work. And then I moved into actually running charter schools in Brooklyn, New York.
Well, then you're so. Let's before it. So the Waiting for Superman movie, which made such a splash. Where is Steven Wilson on that movie in relation to what they were trying to portray, and the idea that urban kids' parents wanted them to go to a better school than what the city of New York was offering them? Give me your. This will tell me a lot about where we're at here. Give me the Waiting for Superman review.
That's such a great way in, right? Because that was the peak of the enthusiasm and the public belief that urban charters could make a difference for so many families and their kids. And then that continued to a roughly 2020. So in 2015 through 19, Stanford did a study of urban charters around the country. And what they found was that they were not only closing, but reversing longstanding achievement gaps. So children, Hispanic families, Black families were now performing as well or better than students, white students from suburban or more affluent settings. This was a total triumph. And then in 2020, with the murder of George Floyd and the racial reckoning, we could have doubled down. We could have scaled that approach that was doing amazing things. Instead, and this is the subject of my new book, we walked away from it. We started to undo what was working so well. And that is the rise of what I call social justice education. We turned away from great teaching as the North Star in these schools to instead social emotional learning, treating all children as inherently traumatized, trying to recruit them for a political purpose. And look, we can acknowledge the good intentions there, but what actually happened is that test scores and outcomes just plummeted in those schools. But the schools that stay true to their mission of academic excellence continue to tower over all the other schools in their districts.
Hold on,
so I think that's a very important.
Our friend Barney's got a question for you.
Stephen,
Great.
How did the lockdown in 2020 coincide with the problems you had of the trajectory going south?
Well, I think that there are many different strands in there, Barney. But what we found was that as these ideas of Ibram Kendi and Robin DiAngelo and the others with this very with us or against us, oppressors and oppressed, pitting staff against one another in these schools. That was easier in an online environment because people didn't have to sit face to face with one another in the faculty room and talk about things. Instead, they could just destroy each other on the chat side of a Zoom call. So that definitely contributed to this rancorous environment where the cultures of these schools turned hostile, and the focus on working together to do whatever it takes to help kids was lost. So that was definitely a contributor. In the majority systems, the big districts, there was just a tremendous amount of apathy towards the fact that kids were falling incredibly behind and we weren't doing anything about it. I mean, the toll in human lives is really staggering. And it really revealed that big districts are just not very serious about kids. They're not very serious about outcomes.
I think that's a money quote right there, Stephen. Yeah, Barn.
How much did the fact that parents may not have been monitoring what their kids are doing and are assuming that the schools are doing a good job of teaching them, how much did a factor is that in also the education system, declining over the years?
Well, I think that actually cut two ways, and we're still figuring that out. But the first way is what you're describing, which is that parents, I think rightfully, expected that, especially parents from poverty, that the schools would be responsible. They would educate their students. And that was one thing amidst all the precarity of their lives, food, everything else, just getting stuff on the table that they didn't have to worry about. But of course, that's quite wrong. They do need to worry about it. And the pandemic revealed that in many cases because they joined their kids on these Zoom calls and they saw what was happening. It was a wake-up call that the teaching was not what was needed and their children were really struggling. So that led to an exodus of a lot of students to charters, to homeschooling, to other settings, because they knew they had to act and do something differently. So in New York, we have about 100,000 kids that have just vanished from the schools, and I'm sure that the pandemic played a huge role in that.
Tell me about when you said the George Floyd and the change of attitude, and you had all of these success stories with all of these urban schools for African American kids and Hispanic kids. Was it just the idea that the charter schools just turned on a dime and said, we're not doing rigor, we're not doing the basics of what we're so good at, and they just shifted at that right after that moment?
No, it was more gradual. It started, Chris, way back in probably around 2015, if I were to pick a date. And it's because of what was happening in colleges and universities, especially elite schools, where you had there the beginning of this culture of fragility, of taking offense at everything, of microaggressions, and aspiring teachers were socialized in that world to think that charters were the bad guys. They were part of the billionaire boys clubs. They were not doing something great as portrayed in Waiting for Superman that you mentioned at the beginning of the segment, but rather as the problem. So when these new teachers arrived at charter schools, they were hostile to the academic mission of the schools. They thought they should be political environments where they were waking up students to their oppression. Right. And that is completely at odds with the mission of great teaching. In a liberal education, a liberal arts education, you're presenting students with a variety of points of view. You're asking them to wrestle with those views and determine what they believe for themselves. But in the schools, as they became indoctrination factories. And that's stultifying for kids. And that partly explains why the results sank. But also, I should mention, let's not leave aside the most important piece, which is that discipline collapsed. Because the idea was that to have discipline is to, quote unquote, control Black and brown bodies. So a lot of educators became extremely fearful of having basic discipline and order in their classroom, lest they be labeled as white supremacists. So that's what happened, and that's why things fell apart.
We're here in Tucson, Arizona. We're very familiar with this. Our largest school district, Tucson Unified School District, has specialized in that sort of crap for 30, 40 years, right? And we're just talking about how their enrollment over the last probably 15 has collapsed in half, right? And everything's repression, right? Restorative circles. They were part of a long-standing desegregation case that basically that people were making hundreds of thousands of dollars over. They manipulated statistics so it didn't look like Black and Hispanic kids were getting a disproportionate amount of punishment. I mean, we're in the nexus of that, Stephen, here in Tucson. Yeah. What's your?
I think what we should keep in mind is that we mock students when we claim to be empowering them, but we deny them an education. We deny them the tools of real power and influence. What are the tools of real power and influence? Knowing things, knowledge. Knowledge is power. Being able to express oneself well in writing and in speech, being able to make a rational argument, being able to work quantitatively and analyze things. How in the world can we claim to be empowering students when they can't even do the most basic academic tasks? So I think that's not education, that's condescension.
For those of you listening on the app, we're talking to Stephen Wilson. He's a scholar at the Pioneer Institute Educational Research. And again, Stephen, we're a big belief that culture is informed by faith, family, and schools being stronger, and schools being just massive from K-12 through the college. So you're scratching us right where it itches, as we like to say in this discussion. One of the things I hear from the folks in the K-12 systems down here is, and there's a little school district called Flowing Wells that kind of goes against the grain. They said, because the child comes from a poor background, a low household income where both parents have to go out and work, they can't learn. Right? That's why the scores are so bad. Like, Sunnyside School District, which has about 16,000 kids, and that TUSD, their third grade literacy is somewhere between 12 and 16% of kids. So, so what do you say when people say the kid's so poor they're too poor they can't learn? What do you say to that?
First of all, I'm sorry, I can't think of any other. The word that comes to mind is obscene, because we now know that particularly in high-performing urban charter schools, you can take students from abject poverty and have them perform as well or better than students from a well-to-do setting. That is now a proven fact, and it's not just happening in a couple places around the country. It's happening in hundreds, if not thousands, of schools. And let me just tell you just very quickly about that, because that's such an interesting case. So one of the things that drove these schools, which are referred to as no excuses schools, not because they don't make excuses for kids, but rather the adults get together and say, we're not going to make excuses about why students aren't learning. Mm-hmm. That's a very powerful idea, that you make this commitment as adults to not invoke poverty or racism or other matters. Instead, you say, within these four walls, guys, we have everything it takes to succeed with your child at a high level. That's a totally different perspective. And wow, it really works.
No, I love that idea. My argument with some of the bureaucrats at TUSD was when they say, oh, both parents are working. I assume all the kids are orphans. That's what I tell them. Assume all kids come to you orphans.
And and then when you invoke the idea of structural racism, it's just another excuse. It's just another piece of jargon. And racism is very real in America. It's pernicious, it's pervasive, all that is true. But in a school building, if you focus on quality academics, high expectations of every child, and you stop making all these excuses, then you in fact can have extraordinary outcomes. Look at the KIPP network of schools. If you attend as a child a KIPP middle school and a KIPP high school, you will statistically, you will not only get into a four-year college, but you will graduate from a four-year college at the same rate as white students nationally. That's a triumph. So we know what to do. We just need to do a lot more of it.
Stephen, what part of the world are those schools in?
Well, really all around the country. I mean, this is the largest network of urban charter schools. There's a very large. They're in the hundreds of them, and this was a massive study of their long-term effects. So the Waiting for Superman movie, it was a rather triumphalist portrait of this, but the fact is, it's now actually getting done.
So I participated in an event a couple of years ago with Goldwater and the Heritage Foundation talking about academic freedom, because the state of Arizona is one of the top 2 or 3 states in academic freedom in relation to open enrollment, charter schools, tuition support, all of these, and now ESAs, empowerment scholarship accounts. And they were talking about, I think it was the state of Ohio, that as charter schools started to expand, it actually did force the K-12 government schools to up their game. Is that something that we've seen, where more charter schools, then they go, oh crap, we're losing kids? And I'm not saying the gains in the K-12s are amazing, but there is a little bit of kick up in performance. Is that something you're seeing?
It's not. It's more than yes. It's more than a little bit. There've been several studies on exactly that, and what they find is exactly what you're describing: is the greater density of charters in a district, and the more proximate they are to a traditional public school, the faster that public school improves. So the effects of competition, as you'd expect, make everyone get on their toes and get better. And this is demonstrated in multiple studies in different settings. So it's absolutely correct. Why would we take the most important function in American life, which is the education of the next generation, and deprive it of an element of competition to make it stronger, which we do in every other segment of American life? We need that. We need that press for improvement so desperately.
So let's talk about literacy, because it's just crashed. I have a very close friend of mine who teaches literacy. She works at a local school district trying to, her job. And so a school district here in Arizona, we're in Marana, Arizona, which is the northwest part of Tucson. The school board made a bold statement, Stephen and everybody. They said, we suck at teaching reading. We've been doing it all wrong. We're doing sight words. We threw phonics in the toilet. And they said, we're not doing this right. And so they made that, which is a bold declaration for elected officials to do such things. And they reinforced what they wanted to do with that getting kids to third grade reading level at third grade, right? And we learned after their first year that they were at 4% of their kids in third grade were at reading level, right? And now they're at 30.
4%. Yeah.
Okay. So my question, and what I've also learned is what she's been telling me is now they're moving her on to fourth and fifth graders because they're pandemic kids during first and they can't read at fourth and fifth grade.
Right. So this is one of the big positive developments of the last years is the recognition that kind of failed real reading instruction had to go, and the so-called science of reading movement, and that has really taken fire quickly. And districts, in some cases, have said we were doing it all wrong, as you said, and we need to put in science of reading. We need to teach phonics explicitly. But I would say to you, the next step is that's the learning to read, but now we need to move to reading to learn, right? So we're children who can decode, but the next step is to be able to understand, is reading comprehension. And reading comprehension has been taught as if it's a skill. Well, it's not. We understand what we read because we've read broadly, and we understand all the concepts that are in the text we're reading. So we need to make schools that valorize knowledge and that expose children systematically to a whole domain of knowledge from the earliest grades. That's the only way that they're going to be great at understanding what they read. So that's the next thing, is to address the knowledge deficit and really the hostility for knowledge that has been a feature of American education system.
What an interesting phrase. The hostility towards you say for knowledge?
So I think that this is a big part of American education is this anti-intellectualism that has been present from the beginning. And in schools we venerate great athletes and sportsmen, and that's great. But we should also venerate children who are doing great things, who are expressing curiosity, who are reading broadly. And we haven't done that. We've had a kind of, as I say, a kind of hostility toward knowledge. And what we should be doing is celebrating students' curiosity. They're reading widely, they're becoming interested in something, and that's what should be encouraged. And then we would begin to change the culture of American schools.
Talk about education funding. That's another thing, right? Because we see that there's states that punch above their weight, but everyone talks about we're not funding education enough. Sometimes, like we compare Arizona, which has a lower cost of living than a New York, per se. And one of my favorite stories of last year was called the Mississippi Literacy Miracle, where over 10 years they went from 49th to the best reading state in the country, Mississippi, right? With one of the lowest per pupil expenditure rates. So talk us through the reality of funding and effectiveness of education, please.
Yeah, well, so I think the first thing to say is that America spends the first or second highest per student in the world, and real spending on education has gone up astronomically since the 1970s. So I think it's very hard to make the case that overall we're not investing enough in public education. That clearly isn't the primary problem. You have places like New York City, since you brought it up, and I'm from there, where you're spending about $35,000 per pupil, and yet the results are pretty dismal. So, but there's also, to be fair, huge differences in per student spending, as you're mentioning, and there are districts that don't have the resources to do the job. But this is not, in the main, this is not the problem. It's not a money problem. It's what we do with the money, how we organize the teaching activity, and what we value and prioritize. It comes down to how we manage education within the building. So principals who are hell-bent on educating, who make their North Star great teaching, who prepare their teachers to be successful, who have effective curricula, who have disciplined environments where students can feel safe and on task to learn, they succeed. So it's not for the most part a resource problem.
One of the listeners messaged me. They want to ask you about. They want to know about your that the dismantling of the U.S. Department of Education is this something you're in favor of? If not, how would you modify, or what is the role of the federal government, you think, if any, in the education of kids in the K-12 world?
Well, I would say that education is primarily a local and state responsibility. The federal involvement is of relatively recent vintage, at least in the form of the department from the 1970s, and we don't have a lot to show for it. That said, there is a critical function of the department, which is educational research and the administration of exams like the National Assessment of Educational Progress that tells us what's going on. We don't want to go dark there. We need to know where children are being educated and where they aren't. So I would say that the closing of the department as a whole is a bit misleading because its functions, for the most part, are just going to be moved to other agencies of the federal government. So it's a little bit for show. But what's important in there is that we protect the research function, which is essential to shedding light on the very failures that we're talking about today, Chris.
You brought up in that discussion, you talk about the NAEP. So talking about that kind of that standardized testing to measure, because that's something that the local people who are touchy-feely with 12% literacy rate say it's either racist or unfair to do standardized testing to see where kids are at in their learning. What would, if Stephen, do you agree? If you don't agree with that, what's the best way to do it?
Well, it's completely absurd. The standardized tests are imperfect. We can always make them better, and they are interesting developments in improving standardized tests. But of course, we want to measure what we care about. We care about students being able to read, to be able to compute, all those things. And that's what tests measure. So those who complain about the test, it's just a distraction. They're trying to shoot the messenger. I don't think it's a whole lot more complicated than that. And figures that have a lot of influence recently in social justice education and turning away from academic education, like Ibram Kendi, say that, as you say, that testing is racist and the very concept of a standardized test is racist. That's profoundly silly. And in fact, if you look at, there was a movement away from standardized tests that was at its peak, the opt-out movement that was encouraging parents to simply not participate in testing. This was at its peak a few years ago, and you saw a large alliance of traditional civil rights organizations who came together and opposed lessening testing. They said, we need to know. And so I think we can safely say that testing, not overdone, not too much of it, is essential. And when people call for eliminating testing, you have to ask, are they trying to prevent us from seeing what's going on and how kids are not being educated in their care?
All right, and now I can talk to this guy for like 3 hours on this because I'm knee deep here. But I'm going to ask you one more question, and I'll let you get on with your day, and we'll talk again. I hope you had a good time with us. The question is, with the rise of AI, right, and we have teachers that are now using AI to see if the kid used AI, right? It's the battle of the AIs. Are we getting to the point? What does the future of education really look like? I feel like with all the AIs out there, a real education, I feel like we're going to go back to Socratic method. We're going to be kids around in a circle. Teachers know what they're doing, and we won't even have to do stupid papers anymore. And that's how we're going to do it. What do you think?
Well, I'm actually very worried about AI in teaching. I know that there's a view that AI will make for effective tutors. My worry is that the wealthy will continue to have human teachers, and low-income kids will be plunked in front of a device where they're already spending 8 or 9 hours a day, and they will be denied the real relationship with a caring human being who seeks to educate them. So I think it's profoundly concerning. I think we need to get devices out of schools. I think that they've been tremendously harmful, and I'm not sure that AI will prove any different from that. If we stop assigning long form papers, we're going to have kids who can't assemble an argument, who can't write and can't think. So these are things I'm worried about.
I'm also worried about the homogenization of creativity in writing, right? That's because that's how we come up with new ideas is we keep trying, we keep writing, we keep exploring. And then if we let the computer handle 98% of what's in our paper, it's just going to be, everyone's going to be doing margarine.
I think that's exactly right. Creativity comes from juxtaposing things from different domains. You've read about this in your theater class, you've read about this in science, and you put things together. That's how creativity and innovation happens. If students aren't exposed to a vast domain of ideas and developments, they're not going to be creative people who have creative and interesting and fulfilling lives, let alone economically successful lives. So I very much agree with you.
How do people read more of your stuff, Stephen, out there on the?
The book is called The Lost Decade, and you can find it on Amazon.
I love that. Can you hold that up a little higher? Can you hold that up a little higher? We didn't get a really good. There it is. Thank you.
There we go.
Beautiful. Thank you, sir. What? In addition to your books, what are one or two other books that you like in the world of education out there? What do you like?
Well, I like E.D. Hirsch's books, longstanding a scholar, a tremendous contributor, and Hirsch, now in his 90s and still going, but he wrote a very important book called The Knowledge Deficit, which goes back to what we were saying earlier, that the real problem is that students are not gaining knowledge. They're studying skills and prepping for these tests, which is whereas what they should be doing is reading novels and long form books and gaining the knowledge by which they can make sense of the world and succeed in it. So I would strongly recommend that.
The book, once a month I have my libertarians on. They got me into John Taylor Gatto, Dumbing Us Down.
Yes, exactly. Well, there we go. That sums it up.
All right, Stephen, great job today, man. You were amazing. You great. I'm telling you, we'll do it again if you're up for it. Okay.
I would love to. It's great to be with you this morning.
All right. Have a good day, my friend. Take care.
You too.
That's Stephen Wilson, Pioneer Institute. When we come back, we're going to do a little reflections on our discussion with Stephen, and then Barney and I, Barney Brenner, JFK, RFK, MLK.
Those words have never been used in the same sentence.
This is going to be. Well, I have a series of people they're pulling out of this data dump on the JFK assassination. I'm gonna bounce it off Barney. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. You're on the Live the Dream Media Network. Wake up! It's a Wednesday with our good friends from Yes. 520-771-5101's the phone number. Give us a holler.
You're listening to Wake Up with Chris DeSimone on Live the Dream Media Network. Now a word from our sponsors.
Hola, I'm Fatima Campos, owner of Incas. With just one taste, you will understand why Peruvian cuisine is one of the best in the world. The blending of spices, international flavors, ingredients imported from Peru, fresh dishes, unique, authentic, and delicious. Incas Peruvian Cuisine, southwest corner of Sunrise and Cove. Visit us at incasperuviancuisine.com. Adios margaritas, hola pisco sour.
TRAC stands for Therapeutic Ranch for Animals and Kids. It's a favorite service organization for the Wakies to support. TRAC, located at Dodge and River, is a one-of-a-kind ranch that offers children of various needs an opportunity to serve through interaction with animals. It's a win-win for children and all of our beloved animals. TRAC is eligible for your Arizona tax credit donations now through April 15th. To find out how to get a dollar-for-dollar credit off your Arizona tax bill and help kids and animals, head over to TRACTucson.org and go to the Support TRAC page to find out more. Make sure you tell TRAC my boy Smooch the Mini Donkey sent you.
My heat and air were in a state of disrepair.
It's still free furnace season. For a limited time until the last day of winter, you can get a free furnace with the purchase and installation of a qualifying HVAC system. Now is the time to start planning for the long, hot Tucson summer. Hurry, this deal won't last long. For fast, reliable, and honest service, call Pictureox Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing at 520-492-0748 or pictureoxcooling.com.
Pictureox Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing.
Gap has been a valuable community partner for us for many years. We have a lot of families in need and try to meet their needs as the best that we can, but partners like Gap Ministries helps us do that. Gap steps in and fills needs that our school district can't necessarily provide on our own.
Breaking cycles of poverty and abuse with your foster care tax credit, go to gaptaxcredit.com.
Investing in regional transportation improvements over 20 years is an investment in ourselves. Your self-investment in transportation will help attract billions of additional dollars in public and private sector investment that boost our economic vitality and job creation, all resulting in a positive return on your investment. That old adage, you have to spend money to make money, applies here. It's an investment worth considering. Learn more at rtanext.com.
In 2014, Mark Kadow wanted to bring people together with classic board and strategy games promoting social experiences that build real connections. He succeeded 4 times over with Tucson Games and Gadgets with locations at Tucson Mall, Park Place Mall, Marana Premium Outlets, and Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. Tucson Games and Gadgets is a Tucson-born and locally operated business supporting the community with a place where everyone feels welcome. Whether you're a lifetime gamer or just looking for a new hobby, we've got something for you. The Tucson Mall location has the Short Rest Tavern, an in-store beer and wine tavern that offers a warm, comfortable atmosphere where adults can enjoy a craft drink and good company while playing their favorite games. We feature hundreds of free games to play that are just waiting on the shelf. Check out TucsonGamesandGadgets.com for special events, leagues, and store hours. Tucson Games and Gadgets, where we take playing seriously.
Your favorite radio just got bigger, bolder, and better connected. Live the Dream Media is revolutionizing how you stay tuned in. With our explosive growth in online radio and our brand new mobile app, your entertainment goes wherever you do. Stream your favorite shows, discover new hits, and connect with audiences across the digital landscape, all at your fingertips. Advertisers don't miss out. Join our expanding digital network and reach engaged listeners across platforms. Download the Live the Dream Media app today and experience radio reimagined.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, CopperCreekCookies.net. We can print anything on our soft vanilla logo cookies. We deliver them and other sweet treats locally. We are located at 4249 West Ina Road, Suite 121. Call us 520-300-1131. We bake smiles. Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, CopperCreekCookies.net.
When exploring America's best city for Mexican food, start off at one of the best, El Taco Rustico. Chef Juan Almanza is crafting some of the best dishes in Tucson at 2 locations, Grant and Oracle, and the new Rustico Dos at Park and Silver Lake. Everything on the menu is a standout, from the shrimp rojitos, costilla beef ribs, to Arizona's best birria. Head over to Rustico Dos for Juan's amazing smoked brisket, pulled pork and ribs, plus all your Mexican favorites. For more, check out tacorustico.com.
My heat and air were in a state of disrepair.
It's still free furnace season. For a limited time until the last day of winter, you can get a free furnace with the purchase and installation of a qualifying HVAC system. Now is the time to start planning for the long, hot Tucson summer. Hurry, this deal won't last long. For fast, reliable, and honest service, call Pictureox Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing at 520-492-0748 or pictureoxcooling.com.
Pictureox Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing.
Welcome back to Wake Up with Chris DeSimone on Live the Dream Media Network. Now back to our show.
Oh, there it is. Woo! Hold on, I'm just sending the crew. One of our listeners said they're having a little streaming issue on X. Just letting everyone know. So, it's a Yes Wednesday. You're on the Live the Dream Media Network. I think that's one of the. We've had a lot of good conversations about edumacation here on the Wake Up universe.
Right,
that
was
one of the best.
Among the best.
That guy just nailed everything. And, he's kind of like, I can see the leftists of the world who just, it's like, Elon Musk, they liked him 4 years ago and now he's the devil.
Yes.
Right? Here comes Stephen Wilson out of the state of Massachusetts education. Now he's in New York preaching how, I know that song, preaching how charter schools are the savior of the urban kid. And they just hate this guy.
Yeah.
My kind of dude.
Well, more than just charter schools being the salvation, educational choice.
Yep.
Because you get homeschooling, you get charters, you get even a traditional school. And, the phrase public school is very misleading. More accurate is to say government school.
Yeah.
And so if a traditional school steps up and is doing a great job, well, great. They get it.
Right.
But, the turn away from traditional teaching or teaching that had been working really for centuries, they didn't call it phonics, but you learned how to read by the alphabet. You learned math by numbers. They have found, as an interesting video you can find online. I think it was in Kansas Public Schools. They did a renovation in a school, and they took off blackboards while they were rebuilding classrooms, and they found on previous blackboards that had been hidden math lessons from 100 years earlier with techniques that had been lost that were excellent.
Interesting.
And, you might remember the phrase new math.
Yes.
That was
that late 60s, early 70s?
70s and 80s, I believe, or maybe even certainly 80s, a step in the wrong direction. When they go to, whole language teaching reading
right.
and away from phonics, it was, some conspiracy. I say
it's like the Michael Medved conspiracy day.
It's not even a full moon, but
we just missed it.
There's one I'm a conspiracy debunker.
Yep.
We may look into that a little bit with the JFK stuff.
Oh yeah.
But there's one conspiracy that is true, and it's been ongoing for over 100 years, and that's the communist conspiracy. It's not really a conspiracy. It's a concerted effort by our enemies to undermine us. And it's been going on 100 years, so you don't know where their fingers were in the various pies, but the education system has been deteriorating for decades at least. Thank God we have.
So I used to say the schools were devolving since I'd say, 50, 60 years, right?
Okay.
I say 70, kind of, right?
As long as we're aware of the devolution and can do something about
it. Where
it.
the libertarians go back to, probably like 20s, 30s of...
Absolutely.
Right.
When the Soviet Union started having an influence, here it started in the 20s with our labor unions.
Right.
That was their big thing. Workers of the world unite. And by the 1930s, the accursed Soviets had their spies in at least our departments of agriculture, treasury, and state.
Gotcha.
So it's not a conspiracy. This is historical fact.
I would say that we need to, there's two things that came out of our discussion with Stephen. There's lots of things, but two that I really want to hit on. One was the idea that he obliterated the argument that if the kid is poor, they can't learn.
Absolutely. Right? That was set up as an excuse to basically, he's talking about standardize failing schools.
Right.
Saying, well, it's the best they can do. And it's a bunch of crap. The kids will absolutely rise to whatever bar you set for them.
Amen. Amen. The other one, too, I thought was interesting. He talked about the adults in education, being school boards and administration, no excuses. Right? We're not laying out any excuses on why the kids can't learn. right? That does not exist in our reality. And that's a big thing too, because all TUSD has always been excuses. Right? The classic government school is always, it's the state of Arizona's fault. We don't get enough money.
Money, that's the key. That's one area we didn't go into enough in that discussion, is that no matter what the problem is, the answer they always say is, we need more money. And that's a crock. You look at the ratio of expenditures, like DC, I don't know how the numbers are now, but they were spending average of $30,000 a kid.
So Steven said New York was $35,000 a kid.
Well, there you go. With some of DC, the reason I bring up DC is it's one of the worst outcomes in the country, if not the worst. And, the comparison isn't perfect because you have a very different culture in the state of Utah. But Utah had one of the lowest per kid spending on education and one of the highest results. And it has to do with the standards you set.
It's up to net 29,000 or so in DC is what my initial interneting is.
Very good.
Has found us.
Close enough. And one phrase or item he mentioned that I'll take exception to, he talked about racism in this country being pervasive. There's only one place in the country where racism is, well, maybe not just one.
No, was Steven saying that, or was that?
He used that phrase.
Well, no, but was that in reference to post 9, the George Floyd killing?
Well,
right.
I think
that was the excuse used by these people on why they went.
No. He actually said that racism is pervasive in this country.
All right, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to the tape.
I'd be curious, since you brought that up,
Yep.
whether I have skewed it a little bit. But the one place that racism is pervasive is media. And they flog that poor donkey. And this country, for being a multiracial country, is one of the most racially tolerant.
Yep.
It doesn't... And you have a place like Japan, which is not culturally diverse. Racism obviously isn't a problem. But here, going back to immigrant days when you had Irish, Italian, Jews coming into, Catholics coming into the country, there was some anti-immigrant prejudice. Today as of the 50s and 60s with our melting pot.
Oh yeah, I mean it's such a false argument nowadays.
It is, And one thing that's not really understood well is that black racism was on the way out after the Civil War. The organization, it's sad to say,
they start with an N and end with a P. I was going to say the NAACP.
No, actually, that was a decent organization.
Okay.
Starting out, it's been co-opted, and I'm going to maybe get flack for this, but the Democrats, post-Civil War and Reconstruction, starting with the Ku Klux Klan, which was the Democrat
terrorist. That's historical.
Absolutely. And they kept racism alive.
Well, so think about Woodrow Wilson.
Yes,
who's one of the worst presidents ever.
Yeah, but he's been eclipsed by several of late.
Now,
starting with Carter.
Do I remember correctly that Woodrow Wilson was not a fan of anti-lynching laws?
He was a racist. He showed in the White House a screening of the what was the name of the movie? The Birth of a Nation.
Oh yeah,
a very racist movie. So I don't have really anything good to say about Wilson. In
history class, they would just teach you World War I, League of Nations.
Yeah, great. They don't tell you about his history, and he was an academic. He was the president of Princeton University.
That's true.
So
Racism in Ivy League Ivy League universities is not a new thing, Barney Brenner.
Well, but in his, you can if you study the Wilson era, he had an advisor by the name of Edward House, and he was the consummate bureaucrat. He wrote a book. It was not ghostwritten, but it was written under an alias. I think the title was Philip Drew, Administrator.
Okay.
You can use you can substitute the word Philip Drew, bureaucrat.
Right.
And under Wilson, we got the start of the modern income tax and the Fed. Both came to pass under his administration.
Who's Barney Brenner? We're going to get the JFK. I know you guys are chomping at the bit on this.
You might
JFK.
have to have me in another day, which is cool. Sometimes you call me in if there's something particular in the
Not if we're going
news,
to keep
but
blinding you with lights.
I know. Thanks.
Barney has been talking about being blinded by this light.
Look at the difference when you go from one screen and you look at that and the my hair is white.
First of all, you have a polar bear on your head, which reflects a lot of light.
Well, yeah, but the light is pointed at me directly and only indirectly at you, so it kind of accentuates the difference.
All right, at the next break, I'm going to bring Dave in here, and we're going to see how much we can, what we're missing here. We're going to debunk this crap quick. Now,
yes,
worst president. I'm going to take Barney off to the left as we got into the Woodrow Wilson discussion, who was pretty much a piece of crap. Worst president in United States history for Barney Brenner. Who is it?
Jill Biden.
Okay. Number 2.
Barack Obama.
Number 3.
Jimmy Carter.
Number 4.
Then you have.
Let me throw a couple at you. Where does LBJ land in the list? Because I think he was one of the most damaging presidents ever.
But we don't have a lot of historical perspective. But one of the worst in our history was Andrew Johnson, who was Lincoln's vice president and became president only because of the assassination.
Right.
Served most of one term, almost an entire term.
So he was indicted but not impeached?
He was impeached.
But not indicted?
No, impeachment and indictment are the same thing.
Okay.
Impeachment means bringing up on charges.
Right.
The charge is impeachment of office. And if you indict a president for that, you're putting him on trial.
Right.
He has to be convicted of impeachment or convicted of impeachment of office to be ousted. And he missed being thrown out of office by one vote in the Senate. Terrible, terrible president.
I feel LBJ.
Yeah.
Right.
The start of the bureaucratic state.
Yep, the bureaucratic state, the welfare state.
I shouldn't really say the start because FDR was instrumental in the start of, Social Security started under
any Republican
FDR.
presidents in the 20th century belong on the not so great list. Where's Nixon land?
Well, actually, one of the best in history for foreign policy. Too paranoid.
So before you go there on foreign policy, so ended Vietnam.
Yeah, he doesn't get credit for that. He gets blamed for the Vietnam War and that's our media. But the Vietnam War really there were problems in Vietnam under Eisenhower, but it grew under Kennedy and really went nuts under Johnson.
Correct.
Nixon came in and managed to negotiate an end to the war. We left Vietnam, but the real problems were that once Nixon was kicked out, the leftists or Democrat Congress would not continue to fund and arm the South Vietnamese.
Right.
And South Vietnam was overrun by the communists.
So then opening the door to China, right? This is another
Yes.
Nixon thing,
Nixon 72.
right? And this is something that in the end was a good thing.
Yes. But of course, like most stuff that goes through the State Department ends up being mishandled.
In which way?
Well, we had an opening, an alliance between Communist China and Communist Russia, Soviet Union, would be a bad thing in the world. Nixon played the two off against each other and had what you call the China opening, where we started having a relationship with Communist China.
All our cheap crap's made there. So,
well, at first it was Chinese and even Japanese manufacture was junk. Made in Japan used to be a pejorative,
right?
But the credit for China becoming an economic powerhouse, or the start of it, came under Mao's successor, Deng Xiaoping, where he incorporated private ownership of business, where companies could produce on their own and keep profit, and that caused the Chinese economy to skyrocket. What we've never done in our history...
So the communist country, quote, got better because of profits for capitalism.
Yes, exactly. But we never followed up and drew the distinction where communism was portrayed as the evil that it is.
Right.
China was portrayed as, capitalist with Chinese, we can say, quote unquote, characteristics.
Right.
Which basically meant that the hand of communism was still hiding behind the scenes.
Let's get back to Nixon. And I know, him flying, going down to Tijuana with Ted Maxwell's coming up later this week. Tell me about
one last thing about Nixon.
Please. I'm going to stay on Nixon. So
okay, biggest problem with Nixon, his paranoia, and the media and the left, which they're intertwined, of course, despised Nixon from his time as vice president of Eisenhower. In the 1950s, Nixon became Veep in 53, and he was a staunch anti-communist because he saw, the evolution of the Soviet Union, and he was the one who worked to expose Alger Hiss, who was a darling of the left and a communist spy from his early days. Hiss was at Yalta with FDR and was one of FDR's advisors. So the Soviets had one of their top people in the highest levels of the Roosevelt administration. And
so Nixon didn't help himself sometimes,
right?
Right.
That's the final part of the lesson on Nixon. His big mistake was not in Watergate, which was a burglary in the DNC headquarters, but in his reaction to it.
Always is the reaction.
Had he just said, what the hell is going on there, and looked into it, the left, the media, would not have had the ammunition to throw him out of office.
So 50-something years later, All the President's Men. The book that kind of... It's funny, Bill Murray was on Joe Rogan last week, and Bob Woodward wrote a book about Jim Belushi, right?
Oh, and Jim or...
John Belushi. I apologize. John Belushi.
They're brothers.
At John Belushi. And he said, so Rogan asked him about the book. And he goes, that book was so poorly done by Bob Woodward. He goes, I think Nixon's innocent after how bad of a job Bob Woodward did on the John Belushi book.
Well, you have to remember that who is Woodward? He was part of the leftist Washington Post and part of the cabal that despised Nixon. So even if Nixon was innocent, the prospect of having the power to oust the president is irresistible.
And of course, with the mishandling, Nixon ousted himself the end, right?
He did. Had he just said, what the hell is this burglary crap going on and looked into it, they wouldn't have had the ammunition to throw him out of office.
I'm just peppering Barney with presidential questions right now. So
yeah, it's kind of a fun exchange.
Tell me about getting off the gold standard. That's a Nixon thing, right?
No.
Oh, I thought it was Nixon.
FDR.
Oh, I apologize.
FDR started
What am I
that.
missing? Nixon was EPA.
Well, no, getting us off the gold standard, yeah, but FDR started that by not allowing private individuals to own gold. He demanded that gold be turned into the government in exchange for paper money.
Gotcha.
But when you go off of any kind of standard like that, and it doesn't have to be gold, but that happens to be one of the best. Gold is a measuring stick. Once you go off that kind of any kind of standard, you turn into what's called fiat currency,
right?
Where they can print it at will, and that's what's gone on. That's the cause of inflation. Why, a penny. Couple hundred years ago was something you could actually buy something with.
Right.
And now we're talking trillions of dollars. It's nuts.
Am I just misremembering Nixon with gold standard?
No, he
I'm starting to sound like a politician, misremembering. What a jackass I am.
No.
I misremembered that. I'm sorry.
No, that's that makes sense. But I think that's correct. I just think of FDR because of his recall of gold.
Gotcha.
But that's the going off the gold standard is the start of a huge inflation of the currency.
The Big Dave, Barney's spart on with his list of bad presidents. We're having. I know you're saying there's some buffering on the stream of YouTube, and the crew's telling me that we're getting screwed over by our friends at Xfinity right now. So everyone, hold on. We'll be there. We'll be fine. When I come back with Barney Brenner, we're going deep in the world of JFK assassinations. This is the one you've been waiting for.
Not too deep.
I'm gonna pepper you with what the morons out there are coming up with.
All right.
Since the data dump, and I want to get your reactions off of it.
That's the fun thing about our interchange. When I come on the air here, I never know what Chris is going to want to talk about.
I think one of my favorite early ones is I said, let's start light, Barney.
We'll go in
Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Let's go. Boom!
And it's in the news today. It's one of the things that, with the current goings on.
Yes.
A couple of huge mistakes.
All right, we'll get to that after JFK. That's crap compared to the conspiracy world. You're on the Live the Dream Media Network.
You're listening to Wake Up with Chris DeSimone on Live the Dream Media Network. Now a word from our sponsors.
TRAC stands for Therapeutic Ranch for Animals and Kids. It's a favorite service organization for the Wakies to support. TRAC, located at Dodge and River, is a one-of-a-kind ranch that offers children of various needs an opportunity to serve through interaction with animals. It's a win-win for children and all of our beloved animals. TRAC is eligible for your Arizona tax credit donations now through April 15th. To find out how to get a dollar-for-dollar credit off your Arizona tax bill and help kids and animals, head over to TRACTucson.org and go to the Support TRAC page to find out more. Make sure you tell TRAC my boy Smooch the Mini Donkey sent you.
My heat and air were in a state of disrepair.
It's still free furnace season. For a limited time until the last day of winter, you can get a free furnace with the purchase and installation of a qualifying HVAC system. Now is the time to start planning for the long, hot Tucson summer. Hurry, this deal won't last long. For fast, reliable, and honest service, call Picturox Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing at 520-492-0748 or picturoxcooling.com.
Picturox Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing.
Gap has been a valuable community partner for us for many years. We have a lot of families in need and try to meet their needs as the best that we can, but partners like Gap Ministries helps us do that. GAP steps in and fills needs that our school district can't necessarily provide on our own.
Breaking cycles of poverty and abuse with your foster care tax credit. Go to gaptaxcredit.com.
Investing in regional transportation improvements over 20 years is an investment in ourselves. Your self-investment in transportation will help attract billions of additional dollars in public and private sector investment that boost our economic vitality and job creation, all resulting in a positive return on your investment. That old adage, you have to spend money to make money, applies here. It's an investment worth considering. Learn more at rtanext.com.
In 2014, Mark Kadow wanted to bring people together with classic board and strategy games promoting social experiences that build real connections. He succeeded 4 times over with Tucson Games and Gadgets, with locations at Tucson Mall, Park Place Mall, Marana Premium Outlets, and Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. Tucson Games and Gadgets is a Tucson-born and locally operated business supporting the community with a place where everyone feels welcome. Whether you're a lifetime gamer or just looking for a new hobby, we've got something for you. The Tucson Mall location has the Short Rest Tavern, an in-store beer and wine tavern that offers a warm, comfortable atmosphere where adults can enjoy a craft drink and good company while playing their favorite games. We feature hundreds of free games to play that are just waiting on the shelf. Check out TucsonGamesandGadgets.com for special events, leagues, and store hours. Tucson Games and Gadgets, where we take playing seriously.
Looking for the best outdoor patio in Tucson? Look no further than St. Philip's Plaza at the southeast corner of River and Campbell, where you can sip on Tucson's finest collection of whiskey at Union Public House, brunch 7 days a week at Reforma Modern Mexican Mezcal and Tequila, and experience our newest restaurant, Proof, proudly serving house-made pasta and artisanal pizza. Enjoy live music and dine under the stars with Union, Reforma, and Proof. Join us at St. Philip's Plaza.
Hi, this is Sean McCluskey, co-owner and designated broker for Rincon Ventures. If you're a rental owner by choice or by accident and you're looking to hire or change property management companies, consider Rincon Ventures. We employ an aggressive web-based advertising strategy to market your rental. We thoroughly screen prospective tenants and conduct routine property inspections. Our online system gives tenants the ability to pay rent and file maintenance requests instantly over the web. Our owners can use the same system to instantly check on their properties. Call Rincon Ventures at 881-2258 or visit us on the web at rvprop.com.
80% of those that have been incarcerated have been in foster care. So that's crazy to think that 8 out of every 10 inmates, male or female, have touched the foster care system. So if we can break the cycles that cause the foster care system to even be in existence, we're going to change society.
At GAP, I found love.
I found family.
It means hope. It was almost like I had a family away from my own family. At GAP, I found home.
Hola, I'm Fatima Campos, owner of Incas. With just one taste, you will understand why Peruvian cuisine is one of the best in the world. The blending of spices, international flavors, ingredients imported from Peru, fresh dishes, unique, authentic, and delicious. Incas Peruvian Cuisine, southwest corner of Sunrise and Cove. Visit us at incasperuviancuisine.com. Adios margaritas. Hola pisco sour.
Welcome back to Wake Up with Chris DeSimone on Live the Dream Media Network. Now back to our show.
I know Barney's got me all chilled today. I'm just sitting here on my chair. Deep thoughts with Barney Brenner. So, good morning, Barney.
Hello again.
Hello, hello. So we're talking about, we're just doing our discussion about U.S. presidents, crappy ones, which I thought was a pretty nice exchange. Let's see. Bruce Ash. Let's see. And again, I know we're having some streaming issues. Stay on YouTube if you can. The app is having some. It's an Xfinity internet problem right now. So just hang in with us, and we'll get through it together.
What about on the website? Right off the website. See, on the app, you don't get the visual.
Right. So, all right, that's a good question. So we'll find out. So Barney, Bruce Ash, let's see. Barney's right on the racism. I picked it up the same way when we're talking about our Stephen Wilson discussion. Wilson, Biden, Carter, Pierce, and Andrew Johnson were his top 5 worst presidents.
Say those again.
Wilson, Biden, Carter, Pierce, Johnson.
Pierce. Okay, I didn't catch that.
And he said Nixon did take us off the gold standard.
Very good.
So
yeah, you're right. Hey, let me put in a plug for a great president, Calvin Coolidge. Very underrated, not widely known. There's a good Dennis PragerU video.
Okay.
Well, they've done 5-minute videos on each of the presidents, but Coolidge was a great one. It's just a shame he didn't actually run for a second term. He served the part of Harding's term and then his own, but he didn't run again. And had he done so, we might have had a very different outcome than the depression that we had.
The other thing, Bill Beard put it just, I think, quite nicely in relation to the growth of bureaucracy. He said FDR planted the seeds, LPJ turbocharged the fertilizing of the bureaucracy.
He did.
So
he did. Medicare was a LBJ program.
All right. So
and they estimated. Get this will crack you up. They estimated, I think the number was that Medicare would cost us $12 billion a year.
Who was this?
They estimated when they started Medicare that it would cost us $12 billion a year. And that was the start of the downturn of medical care and the skyrocketing of costs.
Government screws it up again.
Yeah. When you get the government in there, they skew everything, and you started having private sector medical care chasing public sector dollars.
So the Gateway Pundit kids did a collection of, again, headlines are there to get clicks, right? The biggest bombshells uncovered by the internet sleuths in the JFK files.
In the so-called 80,000 pages that were just released.
So I'm going to bounce these off Barney. I mean,
Very good.
Barney has been, he's educated himself on this, so I couldn't think of a better guy to be here to do this with.
Funny that it comes out today.
Yep.
And I haven't looked into much of this because it was just released. So
your homework assignment for next month is see if you find one or two nuggets that are worthwhile.
I bet you, the sleuths that are going through it will probably unearth the nuggets. And there's probably less of them than people are hoping for. That's my prediction.
Number 1, Lee Harvey Oswald is reported on one of these to be a poor shot when he tried target firing in the USSR.
I hear differently, so that's all I can say on that. He was classified. He was rated as marksman.
Okay.
Oh, one other thing with regard to that is it's not widely understood how close he actually was to JFK when he fired the shots. If you look at I don't want to throw out numbers until I actually double check. I don't remember exactly, but the motorcade went by the book depository building.
Right.
And from a 6th floor vantage point, it was not that difficult a shot. It's not like he's got a 100-yard shot
on a moving target.
On a moving target, it was less than half of that, maybe a third. I'd need to double check, but
all right, we got to get through a bunch of these. JFK files reveal Oswald was a spy, tried twice to obtain a USSR visa from Mexico City.
Well, Oswald lived in the Soviet Union for a while. His wife was Russian.
That's right. CIA memo from September 24th of 63 confirmed Oswald was under surveillance by the CIA 59 days before the assassination.
That is one item I wasn't sure of, but I suspected so because he was on their radar screen. They knew he was in country. They knew who he was. They knew he was a communist sympathizer. He was a big fan of Castro. And he was distributing leaflets saying fair play for Cuba.
Gotcha. Let's see. And there's so many of these shooters that is under surveillance to this day, under surveillance by authorities. And then they go, oh, they were under some of these shooters and things like that.
Yeah, just from a couple of months ago with the last summer with the attempted assassination, they saw this guy. That is an event I would like to have scrutinized a little more. But
well, hopefully, with the guy in president was who's the president was the guy who got shot.
Yep.
Let's see. Okay, so we had that. The next one is
what was that last question again? There was one more thing I think I wanted.
This
to
is just
comment.
about him being under surveillance at least 59 days before the assassination.
Okay,
Oswald.
Okay, move on. I had a thought on there, but
gotcha. We can come back. Gary Underhill. You know who Gary Underhill is?
It's not ringing a bell.
So Gary Underhill, John Garrett Underhill, a day after JFK was assassinated, Gary Underhill claimed that the CIA was responsible. Less than 6 months later, he was found shot to death in his apartment. It was ruled a suicide.
It just makes me think of the satirical headlines. Suicide victim found shot in the head 3 times.
From the back with a rifle.
Yeah, who knows? There have been... That's an interesting...
John Garrett Underhill had been an intelligence agent for the U.S. during World War II, was recognized as an authority on limited warfare and small arms, a researcher, writer on military affairs. He was on intimate terms with a number of high-ranking CIA officials. He was one of the agency's people who performed special assignments. At the time, he had been a friend of Samuel Cummings of Inter-Armco, the arms broker that numbers among the customers of the CIA, and ironically, Klein Sporting Goods of Chicago, whence the mail-order Carcano allegedly was purchased by Lee Oswald.
Yeah, that's the gun. The Manchester Carcano. The
bombshell.
Back to the CIA, and then we'll hit a bombshell. It was at least, the conspiracy, 3 levels of it at least, that they were directly responsible, that they were indirectly responsible because they knew it was going on and didn't care, or it was an intelligence failure entirely that they didn't realize Oswald was in that building with a rifle.
Gotcha.
But they should have known.
A man named Sergei Charnono.
Sergei,
Czornonoh. Sornono. Allegedly had knowledge that Oswald would be killed after the assassination and that MLK would also be assassinated. He also knew in advance that Kennedy would be killed in Dallas.
Okay, conjecture. Claiming after the fact that he knew it would happen.
Let's see.
We're not getting bombshells. The biggest bombshell...
And this is from a letter from Sergei, who lived in Sacramento at the time, to the Russian ambassador on 16th Street in Washington, D.C.
Well,
copied to the British ambassador.
And the date of the letter?
It was February of 60... I guess it will have to be the February after 64. It's a little faded.
Yeah, after the fact.
Yeah.
If you have that kind of stuff before, then you say, hey, this guy may be onto something. But,
So I like this. So what does he say? Mr. Waziloff, consul, gave me order to transmit information to U.S. government. I like that. He actually, the way it's written, it sounds like you're doing a bad Russian accent. That's the worst.
It did.
So, literally goes, in August 1563 in Sofia, Bulgaria, at the airport and embassy car, I told Mr. Blackshear...
I tell Mr. Blackshear.
I tell Mr. Blackshear that Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald is assassin. It says assassin.
Okay.
Anyway,
well,
so
who knows? He may have. They know that he was a communist. They blamed for wanting to take out. Well, that was another screw up of the administration. You know, we mentioned earlier how, or I don't know if we did this off air. No, we did it off air, but how Mao got to be the leader in what at the time was China. It was a fight between him and Chiang Kai-shek. And thanks to our State Department, we backed the wrong horse. And fast forward to JFK's time, we had multiple opportunities to not only take out Castro, but he could have been prevented from gaining power. But the biggest fiasco was that we did not support the freedom fighters at the Bay of Pigs,
right?
And they were wiped out. Just a few of our fighter jets would have taken out their tanks and allowed the freedom fighters in Cuba to oust Fidel and change the whole course of world history.
All right, we're going to do one more before we go to break.
And after the break, I'm going to show you that I can't comment on if there was anybody hanging out.
What kind of file is this graphic file?
This is the Zapruder film.
No, is it? It's a video.
Well, it's a frame by frame. I can show it as a moving video.
Well, if you email it to me,
let me.
And then what I can do is email it to. I can go through our Slack system to Joey and see if we can get up on the screen. Let's do that.
Let's. Trust me, if he'll zoom in on this screen, I'll run it. No, really, it'll work. I tried it a couple of minutes ago.
Okay.
And it'll be good.
All right, my last one before we go. Jack Ruby claimed that his decision to kill Oswald was influenced by his Jewish identity. I don't know. It sounds like a smokescreen to me.
Yeah. What's the nexus there?
Mere hours after Jack Ruby shot and killed Oswald, FBI Director Hoover urgently called for a swift public report to prevent conspiracy theories from gaining traction.
Yeah, well, hard to prevent that. Yeah, the question was, how did he get in there with a gun? How was Oswald that exposed where he could be shot? And with the death of Oswald dies a whole lot of knowledge on on what went on beforehand.
All right, let's go to break, Joe. They also they just released a second batch as we've been doing the show of JFK stuff.
Okay.
You got some work to do in the next month, buddy.
I'll wait to hear what the bombshells are. Yeah, we'll have the internet sleuths.
I feel like it's got a little Geraldo opening up Al Capone's vault here a little bit.
Open the vault and we're going to find a couple of empty liquor bottles.
Thank you. Barney Brenner, Chris DeSimone, and you. Tomorrow, David Schweikert and Joe Higgins is sitting in with me tomorrow. So you're on the Live the Dream Media Network.
You're listening to Wake Up with Chris DeSimone on Live the Dream Media Network. Now a word from our sponsors.
Your favorite radio just got bigger, bolder, and better connected. Live the Dream Media is revolutionizing how you stay tuned in. With our explosive growth in online radio and our brand new mobile app, your entertainment goes wherever you do. Stream your favorite shows, discover new hits, and connect with audiences across the digital landscape, all at your fingertips. Advertisers don't miss out. Join our expanding digital network and reach engaged listeners across platforms. Download the Live the Dream Media app today and experience radio reimagined.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, CopperCreekCookies.net. We can print anything on our soft vanilla logo cookies. We deliver them and other sweet treats locally. We are located at 4249 West Ina Road, Suite 121. Call us 520-300-1131. We bake smiles. Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, CopperCreekCookies.net.
When exploring America's best city for Mexican food, start off at one of the best, El Taco Rustico. Chef Juan Almanza is crafting some of the best dishes in Tucson at two locations, Grant and Oracle and the new Rustico Dos at Park and Silver Lake. Everything on the menu is a standout, from the shrimp rojitos, costilla beef ribs, to Arizona's best birria. Head over to Rustico Dos for Juan's amazing smoked brisket, pulled pork and ribs, plus all your Mexican favorites. For more, check out tacorustico.com.
My heat and air were in a state of disrepair.
It's still free furnace season. For a limited time until the last day of winter, you can get a free furnace with the purchase and installation of a qualifying HVAC system. Now is the time to start planning for the long, hot Tucson summer. Hurry, this deal won't last long. For fast, reliable, and honest service, call Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing at 520-492-0748 or picturerockschooling.com.
Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing.
For over 30 years, Raina and the family at Shish Kebab House have been serving Tucson's best Mediterranean cuisine. Located on Broadway across from Park Place, Shish Kebab House features a scratch kitchen mixing Jordanian favorites with all the best from the region. Want to try Tucson's best hummus and multabal? Go to Shish Kebab House. Other favorites are shawarma, stuffed grape leaves, crispy falafel, and of course the best kebabs in town. Your choice, dine in or order takeout. Preview Shish Kebab's menu at shishkebabhousetucson.com.
Welcome to Tucson Strength, or as we like to say, welcome home. We are Tucson's locally owned gym that was built out of a passion for strength. Our goal isn't to slam our gym full of people for the lowest price possible. We are here for those that want a focused training environment with the best equipment around, and a supportive community that is tired of the big box gym scene.
Discover the power of 88 Crime, where your anonymous tips are rewarded with cash. When you call in anonymously with the tip, you are given a code. With the code and a password, you can walk into a bank and redeem your reward anonymously. If your anonymous tip results in a felony arrest, you can claim up to $2,500 cash reward. Let's stop the silence on crime and strive for a safer community. For more information, please visit 88crime.org or call 88crime.
GAP has been a valuable community partner for us for many years. We have a lot of families in need and try to meet their needs as the best that we can, but partners like GAP Ministries helps us do that. GAP steps in and fills needs that our school district can't necessarily provide on our own.
Breaking cycles of poverty and abuse with your foster care tax credit, go to gaptaxcredit.com.
Welcome back to Wake Up with DeSimone on Live the Dream Media Network. Now back to our show.
Oh, hello there. You know the worst part about Infinity screwing us? It's a Yes Wednesday, and most of you need to keep hearing more yes. Hear about me and Barney. You got more yes in your life. Sergio wants to know if we should talk to Elon about getting a Starlink sponsor here at LTV Media.
Yeah, that picks up everywhere in the world.
We're hanging out with Barney Brenner, conspiracy debunker extraordinaire. So
it's true.
I'm dropping, quote, bombshells.
We can talk about the World Trade Center building number 7.
Oh, Green Party Dave. Call back. No, I'm just kidding. Don't call back.
No, another show.
All right.
Spoiler alert, it was not brought down by controlled explosives.
See, that's a good one. I like that. We got to get to Gandhi before the show's over, too.
I have a couple of words on Gandhi.
Hold that thought. Hold that. We're doing it all today. JonBenet Ramsey after that.
That'll surprise you. Yeah, there are unanswered questions there as well. Poor little kid, though.
Absolutely. Oh.
Boy, was she abused.
Absolutely.
Even if not physically, turning, a 4-year-old into that world of being a
beauty pageant crap.
Beauty pageant princess.
I'll tell you, that doctor, I keep forgetting his name. He passed away right around Christmas. He was the guy who's the forensic guy. He wrote the book on who killed JFK, who killed RFK. He went through it all. And on the air, and he's like, I'm like, you got another segment? He goes, oh, sure. So, literally, I had him on for 90 minutes, a few years ago.
Who killed JonBenet Ramsey?
So he did. JonBenet Ramsey was the dad.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that's the little girl.
JonBenet Ramsey's dad killed her, is what this guy said.
Yeah.
Right? Then OJ did kill Ronna Nicole.
Big surprise.
But the bombshell there is that his teenage son also helped kill them.
Okay.
From the previous marriage, is what he said.
I don't know that he needed any help.
I'm just saying. Right? This is what this guy, Dr. I'll figure it out before it's all over. Right? RFK was whacked by his own security detail.
There was a good number of witnesses there.
Right? Because you could tell for the he said the angle of the bullets, you could see it was from back in the side from his own guys, not from Sirhan. Look at Barney. All right, let's do JFK. Here we go. Lee Harvey Oswald. These are the supposed initial bombshells on JFK. Lee Harvey Oswald was allegedly under the direction of KGB officer Kostakov, linked to Department V.
Very possible. The Soviet Union absolutely knew who even if the CIA didn't. The Soviets absolutely knew who he was. I mean, he lived in Russia, lived in the Soviet Union, and where he was and what he was doing. Whether they knew he was in the building, hard to say. We would only learn that if the Soviets did an 80,000 piece document dump.
J. Edgar Hoover was interviewed by a Mr. Rankin about whether or not Lee Harvey Oswald was a employee of the FBI.
Well, he may have been an informer. They may have used him. Not likely an employee, because one thing I will say for Hoover is he was a staunch anti-communist, and he was not. He might use Oswald, but he wouldn't be a regular employee of the FBI.
He said in this discussion, he said, I can say emphatically say that at no time was Mr. Oswald an employee of the Bureau in any capacity, either as agent or as a special employee or as an informant.
Okay.
Now, what about him wearing women's clothes? Is that true?
Not likely.
Okay.
I heard G. Gordon Liddy comment on that. Here you had an organization with thousands of the best investigators on the planet. If Hoover was a cross-dresser, it would be known throughout the agency. It would absolutely not be a secret. So it was likely an effort to just make the guy look bad.
A letter addressed to then Senator Joe Biden accused him of being a traitor, and the letter was signed John F. Kennedy Jr. That's so weird.
These are silly. Yeah, no big bombshells, but we need to. Let's see. After
you just calm yourself. We'll get to. We're gonna break at 8:40, so don't you worry. We'll get to your video. Don't you worry.
You're teasing it, but this is good. If you ever think that JFK was shot from the grassy knoll, I can't say if anybody was actually there, but I will show definitively that how he was killed.
You know what's awesome about the bombshellers, right? Because they're taking from their social media accounts that they found this, and they put their little screenshots of what they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Is most of their X account, their post starts with either "whoa" with an exclamation point, or this guy puts "holy cow."
And then there's a picture of a cow.
Phil Rizzuto. Holy cow. The CIA was intercepting U.S. Postal Service mail sent to the U.S. and had 300 CIA members indexing 250,000 names. So we had this going for us.
250,000 names of who?
Americans, I guess.
Oh.
So I like this one.
Spying on our own people.
I like this one.
Holy cow, Batman.
A man claiming to be a Polish driver for a Russian vehicle, warning of Soviet plans to pay someone in the U.S. to assassinate the U.S. president. Why is that a bombshell? Now I feel embarrassed for this article on the Gateway Pundit. That's
really. They wouldn't even have to pay for it. You'd get volunteers to do it.
I mean, okay, so 1955. Let's see, failed 1955 CIA surveillance operation in Havana. Sounds right. What?
Well, that was when Batista was in charge there. He was no bargain, but at least no comment.
I'm with
no
you.
further comment.
All right, so let's get to your video. So Malta Joe, Barney says that he needs a little.
Yeah, let's set this up.
Zoom in here on Barney's computer. So let's see what we can get here. Go. So let's go to Malta Joe. Let's get to Barney here. And
okay, if you can come in, let me see. We're getting reflection. Here we go. Reflection is off. So if you can come in on the screen, I've got the Zapruder here, frame by frame, and.
Hold on.
Okay, we'll wait till we.
Is that
That's all we got.
That's as far as he can go in.
Really?
Yep.
That's kind of hard. Well, maybe I'll bring it a little closer, but you may be able to. That'll make it difficult. Darn, I thought you could zoom with that thing.
Well, that's why. Well, again, do you. Anyway, it looks like crap. Sorry. No one can tell anything. I apologize.
No, you might be able to. If you get on, let me give it a shot.
All
There's
right.
a freeze frame.
So let's do as best as we can, and let's see if Barney, just like in the world of non-video audio, let's see what Barney can use his words. I'm going to just sit back and enjoy.
All right. And if you're looking on screen, you can go to full screen. And we have the motorcade, and these are the last shots of JFK before he was shot. And, I can do this, and this is frame by frame.
Stay on your microphone a little bit.
This is frame by frame.
There you go.
But you can see he disappears he'll disappear behind a sign.
Okay.
But if you look at him, he's waving to the crowd and he's fine. And then if I got this sequenced properly.
See, one of our people came to us and said that maybe because we were going so deep into the JFK thing, that's why. This isn't just.
That's funny.
This isn't infinity being infinity.
It's another conspiracy.
The conspiracy that certain government operatives, we are a government town here, Barney, came out and knocked out our infinity stream.
Okay. This is, let me back it up. We'll give it one more shot.
Okay.
And here he is. I might have started in the wrong spot, but here he is when he's waving to the crowd. And these are the last shots of him before he gets, before there's a bullet in him. And we'll slow it down. He disappears behind this sign. And when he comes out, he's clearly in distress.
Okay.
He's been hit by a bullet, and he's nowhere near the grassy knoll. And he just passed real close to the book depository. Jackie is looking at him. She can see that he's something's going on. And then I'll just try to show you 2 frames. It's funny. The internet here is
look at you blaming the internet. So I'm telling you, this is
funny.
This is a CIA op, is what we're doing here. It tried. Let's do this. First and foremost, that this may or may not be a CIA attack on the Live the Dream world headquarters. That's all I'm telling you. Let's go to break, Malta Joe. We'll do one more segment with Barney before we get to Local Marana with Dave and Clint coming up. They have lawyer John Pestle, I believe, on Marana Food Bank and a couple other things. And then Clint Peak has Harry Carey on the Clint Peak Show at 10 o'clock. Yes, he's coming back from the dead. Harry Carey. Holy cow. You're on the Live the Dream Media Network.
You're listening to Wake Up with DeSimone on Live the Dream Media Network. Now a word from our sponsors.
Hola, I'm Fatima Campos, owner of Incas. With just one taste, you will understand why Peruvian cuisine is one of the best in the world. The blending of spices, international flavors, ingredients imported from Peru, fresh dishes, unique, authentic, and delicious. Incas Peruvian Cuisine, southwest corner of Sunrise and Cove. Visit us at incasperuviancuisine.com. Adios margaritas. Hola pisco sour.
Looking for the best outdoor patio in Tucson? Look no further than St. Philip's Plaza at the southeast corner of River and Campbell, where you can sip on Tucson's finest collection of whiskey at Union Public House, brunch 7 days a week at Reforma Modern Mexican Mezcal and Tequila, and experience our newest restaurant, Proof, proudly serving house-made pasta and artisanal pizza. Enjoy live music and dine under the stars with Union, Reforma, and Proof. Join us at St. Philip's Plaza.
Hi, this is Sean McCluskey, co-owner and designated broker for Rincon Ventures. If you're a rental owner by choice or by accident and you're looking to hire or change property management companies, consider Rincon Ventures. We employ an aggressive web-based advertising strategy to market your rental. We thoroughly screen prospective tenants and conduct routine property inspections. Our online system gives tenants the ability to pay rent and file maintenance requests instantly over the web. Our owners can use the same system to instantly check on their properties. Call Rincon Ventures at 881-2258 or visit us on the web at rvprop.com.
80% of those that have been incarcerated have been in foster care. So that's crazy to think that 8 out of every 10 inmates, male or female, have touched the foster care system. So if we can break the cycles that cause the foster care system to even be in existence, we're going to change society.
At Gap, I found love.
I found family.
It means hope. It was almost like I had a family away from my own family. At Gap, I found home.
For over 30 years, Raina and the family at Shish Kebab House have been serving Tucson's best Mediterranean cuisine. Located on Broadway across from Park Place, Shish Kebab House features a scratch kitchen mixing Jordanian favorites with all the best from the region. Want to try Tucson's best hummus and multabal? Go to Shish Kebab House. Other favorites are shawarma, stuffed grape leaves, crispy falafel, and of course the best kebabs in town. Your choice, dine in or order takeout. Preview Shish Kebab's menu at shishkebabhousetucson.com.
Welcome to Tucson Strength, or as we like to say, welcome home. We are Tucson's locally owned gym that was built out of a passion for strength. Our goal isn't to slam our gym full of people for the lowest price possible. We are here for those that want a focused training environment with the best equipment around, and a supportive community that is tired of the big box gym scene.
Discover the power of 88 Crime, where your anonymous tips are rewarded with cash. When you call in anonymously with the tip, you are given a code. With the code and a password, you can walk into a bank and redeem your reward anonymously. If your anonymous tip results in a felony arrest, you can claim up to $2,500 cash reward. Let's stop the silence on crime and strive for a safer community. For more information, please visit 88crime.org or call 88crime.
Gap has been a valuable community partner for us for many years. We have a lot of families in need and try to meet their needs as the best that we can, but partners like Gap Ministries helps us do that. Gap steps in and fills needs that our school district can't necessarily provide on our own.
Breaking cycles of poverty and abuse with your foster care tax credit, go to gaptaxcredit.com.
Welcome back to Wake Up with DeSimone on Live the Dream Media Network. Now back to our show.
All right, we are debunking. Whoa, beautiful. Rick Wakeman playing the beginning of Awaken on All Yes Wednesday. Thank God Yes is playing today as we're being assaulted by CIA cyber forces that want to shut up Barney Brenner about the JFK assassination.
I didn't realize I was that important on their...
Hey, I do want to get to the live chat for people who are hanging in there. Big Dave, Barney, who's the greatest American president in your opinion?
Well, greatest George Washington.
Okay.
We wouldn't have a country without him. But, Reagan did great things. Coolidge was great. But I'll tell you what, if you forget all the noise surrounding him, if you look at the list of accomplishments in Trump's first term, very impressive, and he's off on steroids now. So with regard to...
He's got to get some legislative wins.
Yeah, well, that's a tough one.
For legacy, right? In relation to...
We'll see how he manages to navigate the 2026 midterms.
Our longtime listener, Bob, who's been with us from probably the first day of the show in the Higgins days. Speaking of Joe Higgins, he'll be with me tomorrow with David Schweikert. Wilson should get some, he put credit with quotes, for the bureaucracy. He pushed the government by experts. So Wilson, FDR, LBJ, the unholy trinity of bureaucracy.
No, absolutely.
So
that's what I was saying.
Hilux says marksman is the lowest rating in competition shooting.
Very good.
Big Dave saying 265 feet from Oswald to Kennedy.
70 yards.
Yeah.
And that's at the kill shot. When he was passing earlier in the motorcade, he was even closer. Okay, my apologies for the internet here is a problem, but
hold on before you go. One of the listeners said JFK what the doctors saw. Someone brought this up to us recently. I don't know if we've seen it yet, but it sounds like it's like with the Parkland Hospital docs was interesting. Any thoughts? Anyway, so that was something we'll have to look into that. And then okay. We're good.
All right. I wasn't able to see on screen. I thought it would be bigger, but I want to show 3 frames that'll explain what I'm trying to get across here. So we're going to do this one more time and come in on this. Well, seriously.
Joe, see if you can do
just do the best you can, Joe, to come on in. This is the frame. Good. Very good.
Awesome. Thank you, Joseph.
Nice. This is the frame before Kennedy is hit.
Okay.
With the fatal shot. Jackie is looking at him knowing that he's hurt. And I'm going to go
So this is the shot to the body that he got.
He's been already hit with a shot to the body, and he's in distress. But now I'm going to go to the next frame, and it's going to be the kill shot.
Right.
And there it is. And you can see...
There's a spray of matter, as we like to say.
Yeah. I'm going to go back and forth again. You can see blood going in front of him. Switch back and forth one more time. So that had to be from a shot from behind.
All right, so then the idea is
one more shot.
Yeah, this is the one we're going to talk about.
And the reason people think he was shot from the front is this next frame where his body stiffens, obviously after he's hit, and his body goes back. You can see it there. Go back and forth again. Those are the 3 critical frames.
So you're saying that the one where his head goes back is the one that people think it had to get shot from the grassy knoll because he gets hit from the front, which would force him back.
Well,
what you're saying is he got hit from the back again by Oswald, and the reaction was...
No, he got hit in the head. That's the fatal shot. You can see the blood going forward.
Right.
That's the last shot.
Gotcha.
But in reaction to the head injury, his body stiffens.
Gotcha.
And goes back. And that's why people think he's shot from the front if you just look at the film.
Now, is that bullet the Carcano, whatever bullet we're talking about, or the Carcano rifle, right?
Right.
That kind of bullet, is that something that does an explosive thing, or is it more...
No.
Okay.
No, but, it's got some power in the rifle, and you get a sizable rifle bullet in the head. It took off part of his head.
Right.
And it was enough of a fatal shot.
Gotcha.
So
All right.
That's really the key.
Well, we got a whole batch of other bombshells coming forth, so Barney is going to be ready for Bombshell Wednesday next month.
Oh, and one more funny thing on this.
Yes.
I tried to email those 3 frames to you.
Yes.
So you can shoot them over.
Yes.
3 times I got a message, email sending failed.
Oh, I'm telling you. I'm getting emails from everyone else, but not you. Sad to say.
I'll send it to you when I'm at home, and then you can do what you want with them, or take a good look at them.
I was just laughing at a email Billy 2 sent out about. It was from the Star. Some guy who was a provost finalist at the U of A. The quote is, "We're going to keep DEI commitment without drawing retaliation and screwing our dough up." Thank you, U of A.
They're going to disguise it so the money can keep flowing.
Mohandas K. Gandhi, the Mahatma.
Yes.
I actually just started watching Gandhi again, the movie. It was on Turner Class. I have a DVR on my Turner Classic Movies. I'm only about 20 minutes in right now, but you had a couple of notions about
one thought,
Gandhi.
Gandhi is properly portrayed as a wonderful international figure.
Right.
And, he had a nonviolent protest, and he brought attention to his cause. But the reason he was able to do that is he was up against the British.
Explain, Lucy.
The British are a civilized society.
Okay.
Had he been going up against the Nazis,
right,
he'd have been dead on day 2.
There's some truth to that.
Oh, that's a fact. They would never have tolerated this, and the British would never do anything to him. So the fact that he was protesting against a civilized society and government enabled him to get his message out.
I can agree with that. I mean, there's a couple places where various soldiers or police were beating up people on their, the Salt March scene is very famous, right? And in the way that's Salt. If you want to watch, you can take that entire movie and put it right down to the Salt March scene, right? So what happens is,
that was the peak of the Brits fighting back, but compared to any totalitarian state,
right,
it was a nothing.
Agreed. In that scene is, and when we talk about you want to try to foment some sort of change in your part of the world, right? That scene's very strong because what happens is there's a line of guys, like maybe 4 or 5 wide, about 5 or 6 wide, and they walk up and there's these guys with very hard-looking sticks in their hands, and they walk up and they get all their heads cracked open. Bam! They get hit by the guys with the sticks and they drop, right? Then the next wave of 5 guys walk up and they bam, right?
Yep.
And then the next one, maybe a couple get hit, and then all of a sudden the guys with the sticks go, "The hell are we doing?"
Yeah, had that been a totalitarian regime, even
wouldn't
today's
have been sticks.
No, wouldn't have been sticks, and they wouldn't have stopped. And had they said, "What are we doing?" they would have been the next one to get whacked.
Yep. Our friend Scott, who's listened to the show for a while, is taking a little bit of umbrage to your. He put Trump seriously ? As in your top greatest presidents.
I'm just talking about accomplishments. When, if you want to say great, has to include personality, private life,
right.
Obviously among the worst.
Yeah.
Although, let's throw JFK in there.
Yeah.
He was not only likely and not as widely known, LBJ, and even FDR had his mistress.
Yeah.
But JFK was possibly a worse philanderer than Trump, because Trump is not one to force. He gets his way with a lot of women without force. Kennedy took advantage of a lot of women against their will. I'm not saying forceful, but against their will, they were coerced.
Let me ask you this question about JFK. If he wasn't assassinated, and he finished out his term.
Oh, had he not been assassinated?
Had he not been
Okay.
assassinated.
Yes.
And he just kind of continued his course.
Yeah.
Where would he have gone down? Because, dying a tragic hero /
he becomes
figure.
a martyr.
Right? So up until that point, so we would say, we know that compared to Democrats of today, he was kind of a Republican.
Oh, he absolutely. He would not have a home in today's Democrat Party. Even the Democrat Party of 20 years ago, he would not feel comfortable. He was a tax cutter.
Yep.
Here's an interesting stat. When he came into office, the tax rate, the highest tax rate, was 91%.
Hi, Chihuahua.
It had only been higher during World War II, where it was 93 and 94% on 2, I think, successive years. He lowered it from 91 to 70, the highest rate. And you laugh because as high as 70% is, it's the trajectory of the tax rate that causes the economic stimulus. All of a sudden, you can keep at least 30% of every dollar you make instead of only 9%.
Right.
That is, that was part of his speech to the New York Economic Club, a rising tide lifts all boats. He was staunchly anti-communist.
That's another one of those famous lines that's very rarely understood correctly and or implemented correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everyone says it. But I thought Trump was the first guy economically in a while, maybe back to Reagan a little bit, that proved that the rising tide raises all boats.
There you go. Interesting thing about Reagan, we're talking about tax rates. That 70% rate stayed until the Reagan years, and he lowered it to 28%. And we might not, the left.
That's with a Democrat House with Tip O'Neill.
Neil O'Neill was Speaker of the House. Yeah, he got it through. He had the Senate with him for a couple of years, but yeah, he got it through.
Yeah,
which you got to give him a lot of credit for.
Sure.
And the tax collected under Reagan went from I think $550 billion at the start of his term to $990, even with the tax cuts. Now, you don't cut tax, you only cut rates.
Right.
And so with the rate cut, it gave such an economic stimulus that from his really late in his second year on, we had a tremendous economic boom, which was only stalled by George H.W. Bush making the stupid mistake of going back on his, read my lips pledge. But you talk about, had Kennedy not been assassinated, we wouldn't have had the LBJ years, and had
so we know he stood down Khrushchev and the Cuban Missile Crisis a little bit, right?
That's a little misunderstood. He did some caving there,
right,
where we pulled our missiles out of, I think it was Turkey, right, in exchange for what the Soviets should have done from the beginning, is not come into the Western Hemisphere at all.
And then the other thing I would say, how would Vietnam would have transpired under Kennedy if he stayed alive?
Hard to say, but we escalated. What we needed to do was twofold, very important. We never portrayed communism for the evil that it is, and my thought had we done the tongue-in-cheek approach of saying, all right, you want to have your communist government, all right, we're not going to send in arms, but you have to allow a certain measure of freedom for people. You introduce freedom into a communist country,
it's over.
There you go. We never took that approach.
On that note, Barney, thanks for a nice time today.
It was a nice time. Good discussions. Thanks for the opportunity.
More bombshells in April.
Well, if you get something really big, listen. I'm now 10 minutes away from studio. If you want me to come in for an hour sometime, give me a holler.
Yes, sir.
We've done that before.
Absolutely. Barney Brenner, good job,
Thanks
buddy.
to all the Wakies out there.
Good job.
Thank you, Chris.
Clint Peak and David Samarano's coming up on Local Marana. You're on the Live the Dream Media Network. Thank you, Malta Joe. Thank you, Wakies. We'll see you tomorrow with David Schweikert and Joe Higgins in studio for the last 2 hours.